has been working for them. Fancy is an absolute gunner. He's one of the top in opening KD. In fact, he is more than half as many times in the opening engagement as the rest of his team, which is insane. Miracle has been a phenomenal player so far as well, and they'll be leaning on them for this match.
Devin and we are ready to move into the map ban phase, and we have that information up on the screen now. Let me know what y'all thinking, okay?
First off, FURIA ban Oregon, good, because that is literally Elevate's home. Like they are 13-3 on that map since stage 3. That is their home, so good from them to ban that out. And of course, that does leave Kafe open now for Elevate. We have seen them play it before. They 7-4 Dark Zero on that map just 2 days ago, and overall a strong map for them. So in terms of FURIA's ban and Elevate's pick so far, I think Elevate are happy.
Yeah, I think the FURIA pick for Bank makes a lot of sense. It's a really good map for them. Out of the 5 games that they played as of recently, they won 4 of them. And an interesting fact, they have, whilst Bank is quite of an attacker favorite map, they have a 73% win rate on the defense. That is crazy for an attacker favorite map. And I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing FURIA play on that map. And then you have Kafe coming in for Elevate.
Yeah, just staying on Bank there for a second. Not only is that a good map for FURIA, and like you said, 73% defense win rate, that's also across 5 different maps. They've also picked it twice in opportunities that they've had for it as well. So clearly a favorite map of theirs. On the flip side of that, Elevate, they are 1-4 on Bank in recent history, and while it isn't their most banned, and you can see that's why they banned Villa, which is their preferred ban typically, they're going to have to play Bank, and it's not something we see them play very frequently. It's not something that they've had a lot of success on, to be honest. In fact, you have to go all the way back to APAC playoff stage 3 when you saw the last time that they actually played it in what I would call a real valid match result. They lost it to Dam1. They also lost it to the Chiefs, the Aussie Kiwi roster, and if you go a bit further back, they lost it to Q-Confirm, another Thailand team as well. So Elevate, to be honest, pretty shocking performances on Bank. I think FURIA are going to be really happy to take that map.
Yeah, if we skip towards that last map, it is the decider that we'll be having. That was Clubhouse. Clubhouse seems to not really favor Elevate that much. Out of the 8 games that they played, they were only able to win half of them. So would it really go to that 3rd map? It might not look all too good for FURIA.
I gotta say, coming in
Elevate.
I gotta say, coming into this series, I felt like Elevate would be favored. I admit a little bit of APAC bias, but I think Elevate are coming in with really strong form. FURIA, it's hard to put much stake in their BDS win because of course it was against BDS playing with their coach. Elevate, like you said though, are suffering a little bit from this map veto. I think that FURIA have landed some maps that they're going to be really happy with playing. I think it's going to come down to both teams really needing to win their map pick, and just to go into that a little bit further, like you said, Bank probably a certain FURIA win. Kafe though, I would have a lot of confidence in Elevate. You look a bit further back in history and FURIA just don't have very many results on it that I would put a lot of stake in. They did win at 8-7 against Space Station at the Sweden Major, but then proceeded to lose it a couple of days later. So I don't know how much stake to put in that. I feel like we're likely going to end up having both of these teams trade their maps and then move on to the decider.
Oh, that could very well be true. And while we're talking about maps, we might as well talk about operators. And we're also going to have to talk about Fantasy. You pointed out a little bit earlier on, but his crosshair placement is really, really good. He seems to also be really good with the Finka. And I think that Fantasy had happened to them is that a lot of teams started banning the Finka against them, kind of to target ban Fantasy, really. But what they said is, nah, that's fine, you can go ahead. We're a team. We don't really rely on Fantasy that much, whereas he needs the Finka to perform and to shine, but we're a team. We can do this together.
Yeah, look, it's funny you mentioned the Finka and the Finka ban there, because Elevate, actually, Finka is their most banned operator on attack 40% of the time. It's almost like we scripted this, which by the way, we didn't. So we may well see that come out, and we're going to have to see if FURIA can put their money where their mouth is and carry without Finka on the board.
Okay, the teams are very close to being ready here, so predictions. And I'm putting you in the hot seat first. Who's taking it? Who's winning?
I can't recall what I said for my prediction now anymore. I write those things and then I forget about them. Yeah. But I think I voted for Elevate, but it seems like the map ban isn't really gonna either way.
The logical part of my brain is like, okay, FURIA have got a good map veto here, but the part of my brain that is an absolute shill for APAC is gonna say that Elevate knew that Bank was coming out and they've been prepping it and they're gonna take it 2-0. They are gonna go to the playoffs.
Okay, so you're saying, Dev?
Was there any doubt in my voice, Jackie?
Hey, I mean, I just want to confirm. We're locking it in.
Elevate, let's go.
Elevate, and?
I think I want to stick with my initial thought. That's what they say, right? If you have an initial thought, you got to stick with it, and I think I went for Elevate.
Okay, all right. Well, it's also important for us to note that TSM versus BDS is rescheduled for 5 p.m. CET, but let's get this matchup started. We're going to hand it over to Blue and Stoke. Let's go!
Surprise, everybody. It is not Blue. It is me, XR Troika, joined here by Stokes. I'm going to be stepping in for Blue for this one. Look, it's a FURIA game, and I get an opportunity to cast him. I can't pass it up, can I?
No, we had to give it to you. That's the big thing. Send John on home, have X step in. It's going to be a lot of fun, though, especially with Elevate up against FURIA of all teams. They've been so electric at this LAN so far. So fun to watch, and I think this is going to be a banger. For
two teams that you're talking about bang for buck, you're talking about pound for pound, you're really talking about these two teams for delivering excitement on the server, and I'm sure that is what we are going to see today. We've got a banging series lined up for you. Maybe, just maybe. I mean, the desk was sounding there like they're thinking about going to all 3 maps with this one, so we could be here for a while.
Hey, I'm in that boat. I don't know about you all. I do know about you. You're going to say FURIA 2-0. It's going to be 2 7-0s. They're not even going to make a single mistake, but I mean, if we're being real, this Elevate squad is truly incredible with what they've been able to produce so far.
Elevate are dangerous, and it's not a team that you can overlook. It's not a team that you can just sort of glance on by. You've got to give them the respect that they deserve. And so far throughout the tournament, they've performed. So this really is going to be a big battle inside of the group. And as ever, when we start getting into these, second, third day, the games, they just start to have a little bit more of an edge on them because everybody starts taking a look over at those points. But I do believe we are nearly ready to get ourselves into this one. We're going to be kicking things off here on Bank.
Gonna be a good time. We'll have to see what the bans are going to be. Pretty highly effective when it comes to Bank, depending on what we get on this offender side especially. That could be a big hindrance. Obviously, since Bank has come back into the map pool, it has been pretty offender-sided as well. People are just used to taking this map, man. Especially for a lot of these sites, it's very difficult for the defense to really play around these areas that they want to, even though we've shut up a lot of the windows around this map. Still super difficult to roam. We saw that with Na'Vi up against Oxygen. Doki just not allowed to exist in any sense of the term. So we'll have to see what they want to get rid of, but initially we're going to get rid of the Thatcher. Secondly, it's going to be the Jackal. So this is looking more like a ranked game than anything.
It really is. It's like being back in golf, Stoke. I really think that's exactly what this is. Thatcher and Jackal ban there. Hibana would have been nice.
That's true.
Maverick, you could have thought about it. It all of a sudden plays into that defense is going to be pretty hard. Mirror comes out there as the ban from FURIA. No real surprise there. You're not going to ban the Cade here if you're Elevate. Surely not.
Yeah, no way, especially starting out on defense. I mean, they might do it just because of the quality of life that comes along with that. They're actually going to remove the Valkyrie, which, I mean, that makes so much sense. We get to talk about this op all the time. She's just so very potent with that camera and Nitro Cells combo.
Yeah, you throw somebody like Highs on that camera, or you throw somebody like even Miracle. I mean, Miracle's having the tournament of his life so far. He's currently outperforming Fantasy, so it really is a player to keep your eye on. You can't be giving away that level of information. And to some degree, it may make that down floor site just a little bit more viable if Elevate do choose to get themselves on there. But to kick things off, we're going to be headed up to that top floor.
A very solid ban coming in here from FURIA, as well as Nerix, the top frag right now for Elevate. Most played op thus far just so happens to be Jackal, so making a lot of sense. But since we removed Mira as well, apparently no one really wants to deal with Velvet Shell. Just get rid of that entire operation in general. Looks like we're going to have some fun to start us off, but Sapper's going to throw another curveball at us. It's not the Chonka, it's going to be the Echo instead.
It's a good little bait, that, as well, because it sort of speaks to a down floor presence. You think about the Tachanka, think about bringing the Cade, you're thinking, yeah, they're maybe going to be going downstairs there, but it's going to be very quickly. I think that FURIA discover it is, in fact, the top floor, and they can change themselves accordingly. A pick that I really like on this Bank is the Zero. I think it's such a fantastic operator for Bank, and it's really one of the main maps that we see Zero trotted out on because of that ability to send the Argus cameras in and gather that deeper information.
Absolutely the case. We see him a lot on Chalet inside of North America. That's where we see him utilized the most. We've also seen him brought in just because of the secondary hard breach as well from time to time. But yeah, obviously on this map, any extra info that you can get around the space is definitely going to help you out. And those SAM cams, I mean, they're just so fun to use in general. And also you can use them to actually destroy utility as well. It's one of the very convenient things about that. Fantasy's actually going to have the secondary hard breach with this as well. So hard breach abound for FURIA across the board.
It's belt and braces stuff, isn't it? We've got the tin opener, we've got all hard breach that's available aside from the ace. So they're really not going to have any excuses for not having anything open. And it puts a bit of pressure on Lender because he's going to have to be the one to get out there and really start to make a little bit of a nuisance of himself. There's a couple of nades smattered through as well, with the Maverick picking some up too. But Lender's not really wasted any time at all here. He's already got himself into the top of square.
See Elevate playing patiently upstairs right now. FURIA trying to set up the hammer and anvil as they've set up on both sides of the map here. Plenty of repels for FURIA over inside of the lobby space. Miracle currently on ATMs, as well as Fantasy over inside of this area as well. With Linda inside of Square, just trying to get some extra info as to what's going on inside of this area, especially over towards stocks. They don't want anybody to try and encroach upon them while they're trying to get up and actually into the top of Square. That's why Linda's going to sit around this space and try and guarantee his teammates make it out alive.
Puts a lot of pressure on early because if Janitor's being watched, it removes quite a nice little rotation there that the defenders can start to make. We're now seeing Sapper is just going to start to reposition a couple of those Yokai drones as the initial pressure is announced by FURIA. They know that this is going to be predominantly a square-sided take for the time being. Was that jump out there that we saw?
It was indeed.
It was hella aggressive there. Like, what are you going to be able to do?
I mean, I don't really know. I honestly, I like it simply because of having the Vector in hand for that, right? It's that close quarters window battle. And if you're able to land your shots, and you're really going to be able to tear into somebody. But TCH, and then Lenda fires back as well. Oh, X, we're in for one here.
We really are. If these players are throwing themselves out of windows in round number 1, Lord knows what we will end up with when we get toward the end of this. Highs is just getting himself in a bit of a skirmish. He sees the top of the head, exchanges a couple of shots, drops prone, sends the nade, but gets instantly there. Great little refrag coming back. That's going to bring things back 3-3.
Oh, just lock him right in the octagon. They're throwing hands left and right. This is only round 1, folks. It's down to the 2 versus 2. Rare currently top square. He's gotten the right panel blown, but Fantasy's on the roof. So Rare technically alone inside of the situation right now. Onigiri will be able to continue to add these my discs to the equation. So this is going to pull away from the potential stuns that Rare has in his pocket, which he has none currently, even though the top of the board is going to tell you guys that he does have 3. So Rare still trying to work for this angle. Gets caught off guard by Onigiri here. Fantasy trying to work his way up elevator hallway as well, but Onigiri starting to take some serious damage. Nerox will fall. Onigiri is going to win his first fight and the second. What a turn from him as he lands both of these shots. Incredible stuff here in round 1.
A lot of information available there for Elevate. I think that's the thing that really screams to me at the end of that round. You could see quick fire shots, bang, bang, knew exactly where he was going. Peek on one, straight peek on to the other. There was a bit of information equally for FURIA. We saw some yellow pings coming through. That would indicate that Fancy's got an idea that somebody's going to be playing in there, but time was running a little bit short. Elevate have got away with that one there. They've thrown themselves out of windows. 2 people have thrown themselves out of windows for 1 singular kill. That isn't something that you can continue to do. They've got away with it. They've managed to pick the round up, and I think they're probably going to be pretty happy with themselves, Stokes.
Absolutely. And really, coming through in huge dividends has got to be those Yokai drones. That's what has to be where we were seeing those pings coming in from. Not a single one of them shot, at least from what I saw, so I'm assuming they were around the map getting their jobs done. Just because you can't sonar blast somebody with them doesn't mean that they're not worth their weight in gold, as we see Elevate able to make that one go off with a bang inside of round 1. And for FURIA, you really got to question, can they try and, gather themselves as a team and try and forcefully take the site away instead of have these solo plays going like we're seeing right now?
Round number 2, we're going to be headed someplace else, going downstairs into the basement. A little bit of a bait out on the 6 pick as well. We saw Sapper go from the castle onto the Cade. There's Chanka being brought this time, and of course Chanka was brought in the first round, so really trying to play those mind games with who is the 6 pick going onto, where is this team going to go. Still, it isn't going to disrupt too much FURIA's lineup. There's only been one change. We've changed Highs from a Maverick onto a Sledge. Still got the nades, hasn't got the blowtorch, but realistically should still be able to get a little bit of work done here. It all depends, it all hinges on where the electrocores are placed.
Yeah, that's going to be the good news for Elevate if that's who you guys are rooting for at home. They're going to be able to lock up 2 of these hatches, and it's going to be very difficult for FURIA to try and work around that without having the torch at their disposal. They're more than likely going to have to try and get some nades snuck in here to get these hatches open, but it's looking like the 2 mainstays here, the main Red Hall hatch as well as the CCTV hatch as well.
I guess it all depends on what Fancy does with the Argus cameras, right? He could maybe get those into a position, but of course it's a little bit more risky. He's likely not going to be able to do all too much, at least in the immediate part of the round. A little bit of drone work going out here. We've got Jaeger playing at the top there of blue stairs. Typically a position that you'd find somebody playing with a shotgun. For example, we saw FURIA play yesterday. Fancy was playing that position with, day before yesterday, Fancy was playing that position with a shotgun in hand. With the AR, it just gives you that ability to fight at a little bit of a further distance, but you also have to drop back a little bit sooner, and it looks like some pressure might be coming his way.
Well, Elevate are anything except orthodox, let me tell you. So I'm expecting them to continue to do some very unique things, and that's exactly what we're going to see in this one as DCH will fall off of blue as soon as the hatch gets blown open, but FURIA still with a long road ahead of them. And with these hatches locked up, FURIA isn't going to be able to work the site in the same way that you traditionally would. They're going to have to still try and go in for more than likely a server plant, but trying to apply pressure towards the back end. That's why we see Miracle starting to open up these hatches around this space. DCH will trade himself out as Highs will be able to claim his life, but they're also going to lose quite a bit of information in that regard.
Rare's going to be able to get the wall open. It's going to give him an opportunity to get in, but there's an Evil Eye directly above that breach. The Kafe Electric Claw there getting pinged out. Highs' nade has to hit its mark here. He's got to be able to remove that Electric Claw, and then the hatch can be opened above. Good teamwork, good coordination here from FURIA. Time is going to be their enemy, though. They've got the Tachanka to worry about. 12 Molotovs there. That can cut off an inordinate amount of time.
And not only that, but they still have Nay all the way in the back line as well that can use those toxic babes to his advantage. Should start seeing this utility come out here soon as they are inside of the B-bomb site. This is so traditional for Bank. We have seen this time and time again over the years of this utility being chucked in through the red hall and trying to stave off a plant. But also for FURIA, they're getting aggressive on the back end just like we thought they would. Nay will go down. Rare picks up one, but Miracle actually gets fought back inside of Vault. Fantasy will be able to claim yet another as the plant continues to go down for Rare. But what can Nerix possibly do about this situation since he's down into the 1 versus 3? Does he know that he has an enemy in behind him? Nay might be able to assist him from this position, especially after he gets taken out, trying to hit the pre-fire, but Nerix, it's so very close. The prone angle, he'll actually get Fantasy with Rare on very low HP. This is possible.
It really is. It all depends on the rotation now. FURIA aren't choosing to go up to the hatch inside of open. Instead, they're just going to hold it onto the hatch inside of servers. Rare maybe just give his life away here just to waste a little bit of time, just to gather a little bit more information. The Disable starting to be baited out now as Nerix realizes he's on the drone, starts getting pre-fired from the hatch. It was a pinch and a push, and Rare is going to be there to collect that final kill. FURIA bounce back.
Elevate with one, and Fantasy and the rest of the squad with another. FURIA able to dissect this site, able to get the hatches open. Very risky initially with that Kaid obviously being in play, the way that they had to end up working the map, but I absolutely love what the strategy was. Let's get these hatches open, let's apply pressure to the back end. Elevate won't be ready for this, and clearly they weren't.
Elevate didn't have a clue what was going on there. They really were a little bit caught unawares. The double hatch drop coming in, and that was the advantage that FURIA saw because they were going into that as a clean 5 versus 5. They were able to drop both hatches at the back while still having sufficient pressure. They baited out utility well, but I'll be honest, one wrong move there, couple of missed shots from maybe Miracle or Fantasy, it could have gone entirely different. All of a sudden, you're able then to start denying that plant a little bit further. There was a lot of utility left in the pockets of Elevate players at the end of that round when the plant went down.
Quite a few coin flip plays across the board, but I feel like that's going to be the vibe that we have between these two for most of this best of 3 is all out, unadulterated aggression. They want to fight each other. They want to get in each other's faces. Yes, the utility's there, and it obviously is going to possibly stem some situations, but for the most part, we're going to see them try and just brawl it out, which I'm extremely excited for. We've only had 2 rounds so far. They've been action-packed. We're going to continue this as Elevate heads into open area.
Open area site that has risen in popularity has changed just a little bit, and typically the extension now comes in toward that teller's area. We can see a little bit of utility being deployed there. We've got a bulletproof camera to deal with that main lobby, castle barricade, half reinforced wall, a Rooney gates, all of the things that are going to soak up that time.
Also going to have Fantasy switching things up just a bit. We'll have the Flores in for the first time here, so those Rotero drones will come into play. Possibly able to clean up some utility, but the big thing here is that those bulletproofs can actually prevent those from actually hitting their mark. So we'll see if Elevate will be manning those for some time. But Fantasy, he's not worried about Rotero drones. He's worried about killing people. And I believe that they think someone's down here at the end of the hallway. Oh yes, they haven't even marked it out. It's actually Fantasy, I believe, that pings it himself and also gets the kill on a Nay.
Elevate player inside of the elevator. That's not going to get old on Bank at all. Nay going to be the first blood there as the Oryx. Your job is to play that aggressive roam game. You're that guy that is going to be making those quick fire rotations, maybe even trying to hop yourself up through a hatch. You can think about where the site is, and there's plenty of hatches below. We saw them last round. It's not a great position to be losing your life in the opening minute of the round. It's going to give the top floor control over toward FURIA, and with Highs on the sledge, he's going to have a free right of passage to just rip open that floor.
And Miracle's already over on the other end, applying pressure through lobby as well, and really no answer from Elevate in the current moment. They can have some information inside of the space, but the pressure just seems to be too broad as Linda takes down Onigiri inside of Archives. Where are the remaining members of this team? They simply can't fight back at the moment.
And with these vertical angles getting opened, it's only going to get more difficult. If there are players on that ground floor ready to collect the kills like Miracle, then the rotations are even more deadly. All you can hear inside of the site at the moment is that sledgehammer ripping open above you, and Highs is just peeking around onto angles previously made. There's lots of time to gather information here for FURIA as we see a C4 fly out. It is not going to connect, as I believe that the info could be lacking somewhat for Elevate.
Yeah, this is where things get scary for the defense here. Lacking information, they're fighting ghosts and starting to throw utility out willy-nilly. Nitro Cell goes out, won't obviously hit its mark, but neither will that nade. I think it bounces back, and it will indeed. Catches those X-Cairo, so unfortunately enough for FURIA, doesn't look like they'll have access to the wall for the time being, as they'll have to get Rare to move across the map and blow that wall instead. But he's actually all the way upstairs, and this has allowed Elevate to find some footing underneath them inside of the site. They'll take down Highs, but not before Miracle can strike onto Sapper.
DHC has got a long ways to go here. He's going to be able to find himself one. Look at the amount of pings that guy's got. He had red pings for days, but it didn't matter because FURIA had the man count. They had the advantage there. We see Rare bursting his way through. That bulletproof camera, great positioning on that. Little bit further back. It was just hidden behind the alcove, so you couldn't get it from the window. And nade was required, and with the amount of Aruni gates, well, if a couple of players on Elevator had stayed alive for a little bit longer, that could have gone very differently.
Clearly not a coconut bra sub. I'm just saying, you got to watch those coconut bra videos, man. No, but there's a lot of unique spaces inside of this open area we've seen abused quite often nowadays, and those bulletproofs have gotten even more paramount to success for information on the defense, not only because of obviously them not being able to be broken so easily like a traditional camera, but also the fact that they have that laser on them now too that we've been talking about. So definitely something that Elevate can abuse, but unfortunately enough for them, they just give up way too much too early. FURIA only having to trade 2 drones for a kill. I think anybody will take that.
Absolutely, and back up to the top floor we go. Now, the big question, are we going to see the same level of aggression? How many Elevate players are going to jump out of windows in this round? Round number 1, we saw 2 players flying themselves out of windows very early on indeed. Are we going to see that again, or is it going to be a little bit more of a tempered approach? It came down to a 1v1, and it was a 1v1 that Elevate were successful in. They were able to get that final kill onto Fantasy and take that round. However, they haven't been successful since. So they're going to be coming back up here to just find a little bit of surety and to stop anybody from running away with this one.
As of right now, it's Rare's world and Elevate's just living in it, but obviously they want to change that as quickly as possible. Just as a reminder for you guys at home, Bank is most definitely an offender-sided map, and it has been from region to region the entire time since it's came back into play. So it's not all for naught at the moment for Elevate, but they definitely want to get as many rounds as they can on this side.
Miracle is going to open up again. Another opening kill here for FURIA, this time onto Sapper. That is a big, big blow to deal. You know, you're going to be bringing those yokai drones. You need to be getting the value out of them. So early on in the round, we saw him make a rotation with them at around halfway point in the first round. So they're not in their final resting place. Those cameras are not going to be as useful as they were last time.
No, absolutely not. And an interesting place to be, especially at the beginning of the round for Bank. You do not want to be inside of that quad window section. You're going to get punished time and time again, especially if there's no castle barricade there. It's just something that they're always going to try and pre-fire into. And the other issue is they don't have any wall prevention for the elevator hallway, X.
I mean, that's a basic, isn't it? You know, that's one that you want to try and open up as a first port of call. When Hibana's available, that is where Hibana goes. Hibana needs to be opening up that long corridor, cut through the site, cut through stock, not able to rotate there through main stairs as easily, and it really starts to separate people off. And at this point, with a man advantage, FURIA can afford to have Miracle sit on that.
Yeah, they can just be real chill about this entire situation going forward. Could see some punishments coming in soon, but Nay doesn't have that vector. Instead, he's got the TCSG, which we don't get to see too often anymore. more, but definitely still a shotgun that can be an absolute demon when it comes down to it at range. Possible another pick here, and yes, Lendo hit his mark. DCH goes down, and Elevate starting to lose way too many bodies. Lendo with yet another miracle with the fourth, as Elevate are just bleeding kills. Onigiri, the last man to be alive yet again here, and he'll get taken out from Miracle at range. What a shot with that Type 89.
Miracle didn't move. He did not move. He opened up the angle, and we were like, yeah, that's a really important angle to make. Hibana needs to be able... They can afford to sit there. He afforded to stay there, and he made it worth his while. He picked up a slew of kills there. FURIA have just dismantled Elevate off that top floor. An entirely different approach. First round, we saw them go for square stairs. This time, no. Main lobby and work their way through, making their way up the main stairs. The adaptation, we didn't even get onto it, was the Capita. We saw the Capital brought, Firebolt, smoke, a little bit of cover. Doesn't take much, and all of a sudden things are looking very, very different to how they started out. 3 clean rounds in a row, and Elevate now left to find some answers. We go back downstairs into lockers, and I know what you want to talk about.
Do you?
Go for it.
Oh, I gotta talk about the Nook, man. Come on, you already know. We could see some very interesting things happen here, especially because Elevate haven't really been on top of their game inside of information for these last 3 rounds. The first one, I think you and I were both very surprised with how much they got away with those Echo drones. But this time around, Nook could really deal some serious damage. There's so many avenues for her to be able to transition into the site inside of this space, and also if FURIA gets control of all the hatches like they did the last time, there's plenty of area for Fantasy to simply drop in behind Elevate yet again and have those silent footsteps to really sneak up on his opponent.
That's the real danger here, and we can see already that Elevate have gone for a pretty different lineup to what we saw in round number 2. Instead of bringing the Tachanka, they're just leaning into the smoke. They're not bringing the Yokai, they're not bringing the Echo. Hatches already aren't reinforced, we're into the round now, so that's unlikely to happen. They're almost giving that away for free. And why should they bother? Because they haven't brought the Cade. There's so much hard destruction that it doesn't matter if you're going to reinforce that hatch or not, because somebody is going to get it open. But this is a direct approach, and Lender's got a drone working ahead of him. This site is free for the taking.
The prep phase drones will be able to get them some info and start to work in, but Lenda a little too quick to the trigger as he'll get taken out by the SMG-11, but that doesn't mean that we can't see something out of Fantasy as he's already snuck into Garage. This is the most traditional Nook play on Bank that you can possibly get, X.
This is what people think about when they think about Nook. They go, yep, nooking into Garage. Yep,
literally.
That's what we're going to do. Like, that's the plan. I'm not sure if this plan is very well thought out, though, because Lender's died. He's pushed himself into sight. I don't think he used any of his nades. No, we can see that he didn't. And Fancy's now here, and he's probably going, Lender, you slow down, bro.
Could you have waited for like a second?
Just wait a little bit. Like, what are we going to do now? We need to come up with a plan. And they're stalling out, and they've wasted a minute so far because everyone at the moment is just holding an angle and trying to gather something on the drone because they've realized, hang on a minute, the site is a bit light here. Everyone's off and about.
Yeah, and that could be the highlight of the round here is the fact that FURIA, they're starting to play into Elevate's hand instead of just going for what they originally wanted. Fantasy's now stuck down here. He'll get a kill onto Onigiri, but if the team was here, they'd have something to do. But he can't go forward anymore. He's too low HP.
You've really got to pick what you're doing, whether you're going for the roam clear or whether you are going to go for that, direct to site push. And it seems as though FURIA have fallen a little bit in the center of that and not really decided what they want to commit to. We've still got players up on the top floor like Miracle. Nerix is going to be opening up some hatches. That's just going to make rotations even easier at this point because, look, minute and 20 left. He can now start to think about dropping down, and the smokes are still going to do a lot of the work here.
Still some rotations out of Elevate, and Rare not exactly a good read onto this situation. Nay with the possibility of 2 here. Can he claim the first, though? Plenty of damage onto him, and he can't get any shots to land. Rare take very minimal HP, but Sapper's there to deal the lethal damage instead. Fantasy trying to sneak in behind, but he's on low HP as well. But so is Nay. Fantasy will finally get those shots to land out of the FMG-9. It was a little wild there for just a second, but he'll be able to right that and get that frag that they desperately needed.
The question is, can they win this 2v3? It's a position that Elevate are really well set up for at the moment. We see a player like Nerix there. He's got the bulletproof camera to work with. He's heard the goo mine go off. Fantasy knows that there's likely going to be somebody still inside of open, but slowly but surely these Elevate players can just continue to drop and pile that pressure now onto FURIA. Miracle's going to make a rotation, look to open himself up a line of sight into the old vault, but another goo mine. It's just giving the game away one step at a time. Nerix, he's got a little punch hole there that he's going to make full use of. Whether he finds Fantasy or not remains to be seen. Miracle's got to go pretty big here. He's going to get the call and will find the kill, but he's only got 10 seconds and 2 kills to find. Draws for the bear in 9. Desperate times, desperate measures. Final kill flies on in as expected, and Elevate adapt beautifully there on that Locker's defense.
Masterfully done there, but for Furia, we have to go back to the point we made earlier in the round. You have to commit to your idea. If you guys want to go direct to site, don't half-ass it. Don't go with just 2 people downstairs and one of them being overly aggressive in comparison to the other. You have to time these things out properly, and they'll get punished for that.
They really will, and if they'd have gone for the roam clear like they did in round 2, they'd have probably been fine. Because we know that they can drone, we know that they like to have a couple of drones working ahead of them, and they would have discovered, hang on a minute, these hatches aren't reinforced. That's a problem. What have they got? A lot of impact grenades and Oryx. Right, these guys are out for the roam and they're looking to get back to site late, if at all. They might just happy to be playing the life and die on the roam. Good adaptation from Elevate. They've read into that really well, and we've seen a lack of change there from Furia, kind of just deciding a plan at the start of the round and sort of going, this is our plan and we're not changing regardless of what things look like. Now we move once again back into the open area, and yet we see more changes. A couple of new things inside of this one. Elevate have gone for quite a different lineup. We're actually seeing a Mozzie, a Pulse, and a Thunderbird brought along for a little bit of fun. And then on the flip side, we have the Lion. Is the Lion the answer?
Honestly, it could be. The big thing, though, that comes along with Lion is that you have to have information initially to make these EE1Ds actually work, because they make everybody stand still. It's a good old game of freeze tag. So we'll have to see if Furia can possibly get this going, but this could be for something else as well. I mean, Furia have been quite aggressive towards the site. They could just stack and go for it at the end of the day.
It seems like that kind of game.
It really does, doesn't it?
You know, let's be honest, it seems like that kind of game where we're just going to see heavy site presence early on into the round. They're just getting themselves there to that front door, removing the drone. It just gives Miracle something to think about. He's not going to as easily just be able to waltz his way through as he did previously, putting that pressure on to Tellers straight away. Instead, he looks a little bit unsure, gets himself on the rappel, dips back off, but the Pulse is going to be able to gather a lot of intel here and call out very quickly. And don't forget, we've got players that can move very quickly as well. That little burst of speed from Oryx is certainly going to be enough to try and make something happen.
Well, hopefully something does happen for Nay. It's definitely happening for Nerix as he lands a beautiful shot, but not before Highs can refrag him. So we'll equalize here, but Sapper will obviously have a read on this. It's not every day that you get to see somebody occupy ATMs inside of a professional match, but it works out for Nay at the end of the day as he'll find his first kill.
It's a classic rank spot there, a little bit of a rat corner, just trying to play for one, and it's perfect because no one was there to trade Miracle. He was pushing in on that solo, and when he's a lot of the hard support inside of this round, that's a little bit of a worry. We're now looking toward Highs for that hard breach blowtorch to really do a lot of work, if they even get into a position to do so. They struggled to open the wall into Staff in the previous attempt on this site, and who's to say it's not going to be any different here. Currently, Elevate ahead by 1, and still with Sapper able to gather all that info. If you're on the top floor and you're Fury, you are not safe here. You are going to get called out and you are going to get known.
Yeah, and the other issue as well is that Nay able to sneak up the hallway here. Luckily enough, though, he'll shoot the drone and dip off instead, recognizing that, well, more than likely Furia know that I'm here now, that I've shot this drone, so I'm just going to escape instead. Now for Furia, though, although they do have top control, they have no soft destruction to be able to abuse it. So this is going to be more of a transition down to the mid floor, where we now see Furia currently built up inside of Square. They need to get this wall open so they can start working in towards Kitchen, but that's going to require a lot of heavy lifting with that blowtorch.
There's some serious gunfights that need to be won now. Highs is going to start to try and open this wall. He might just give himself a line to work with, as Lender's going to be backing him up there. We can hear smoke canisters going off in the distance. Onigiri is primed and ready to peek onto said line as well, as Sapper still gathers that information. The heartbeat's kind of here. It is worth its weight in gold. Nay on the rotation. This is going to end badly.
Terribly, honestly, and Rare, as sneaky as he thinks he is, he's not going to get anything past this cardiac sensor. That's the beauty of it, and why we see Pulse pick so often inside of professional play. Onigiri will go down, but all of a sudden, Furia pick up 2 kills. It's winnable inside of the last 20 seconds. Elevate, what has happened? Highs picks up Nay as well. Apparently, the cardiac sensor can't get enough information for Elevate. Sapper only has his pistol out as well. Can he land these crucial shots? He knows one's close. Did he see his head over the cubicle? He did not. He's trying to track him down, but the plant goes off. They're going to stand up on the back end here in just a second, and now Sapper stuck inside of the small office. He'll get dusted by Lenda through the wall. And Fantasy, the rest of Furia, able to get things done in a round that they should have had no chance in winning.
We penciled that one in as an Elevate round right from the get-go. You know, we saw the setup, we saw that last 30 seconds and how it was going to unfold. Heartbeat scanner. Hello? Do we need a lesson? Do we need like heartbeat scanner pulse 101? Like that thing is going to find a heartbeat. Maybe FURIA haven't got heart. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe no one. Maybe they're just stone cold killers. You never know. But there was information there, and there was information to be used. There was information to be gained and acted upon. And for that many kills to go down for FURIA, it shows either a lack of communication. There was nobody. You know, maybe Sapper wasn't on the heartbeat scanner. Something was going wrong there, because that really oughtn't to happen. Sapper still had a C4. You know, he flicks onto the heartbeat scanner, sees a plant going down, sees a body, sees a player, just C4 goes out, wins on time. He had the pistol in his hand as well. I'm not sure if he brought the shotgun in that round and was then maybe unable to take as many engagements as he wanted, but little bit of a whoopsie there from Elevate, and it's going to cost them. They are going to go out of that first phase 2 rounds to 4. Now, you've already said attacker-sided bank is sometimes a thing, and I would argue with the way that the bans are looking here, there's no different. There's a wealth of hard breach available, but now it's time for Elevate to do exactly the same.
Yeah, you know, with these offensive bans like you're talking about, really the only thing that's going to be lacking is a slight amount of information if you did usually bring Jackal inside of your lineup. But as a professional team, if you can't drone, we already have a problem, sweetheart. You better fix that. So for Elevate, we're really looking at them to find information early here, but this just might be decided early in general. Nae's picked up an op that we don't get to see enough of just because she's so very fun. Not for literally any other reason. It's going to be Amaru.
Flying out of windows, flying into windows, really what is the difference at this point? Nae's going to get themselves straight upstairs and try and get on with that roam clear. It's a huge audio cue, it's a huge sound, and it's a shot that Lender is going to absolutely nail. That was very short-lived.
Shook the dinner bell on that window entry there. He knew he was coming into CEO, and now all of Elevate has tried to move up to compensate for this. They need to try and find a kill, but there's blood in the water, and it's from the offensive side.
While the top floor might look in the hands of Elevate right now, it still is a long way to go. There's potential for a rotation as well if FURIA choose to do so, but they've just seemed to have taken that opening engagement and dipped on back. Onigiri getting himself into a little gunfight there in Tellers. He's going to be going up against Fancy, and Fancy's just lining them up and knocking them down. Good night indeed. More presence now coming into the ATM area as an EE1D comes out, but it's arguably a bit too little too late. Beautiful peek from DCH there, shutting Fantasy down.
Biggest problem right now for Elevate is, also for FURIA in a certain sense on their offensive side, where is the soft destruction coming in for these people? We were just not seeing any of this. Heist is also going to get a kill onto DCH. Not rocking the M590, has the FMG9 instead with the 1.5. And honestly, it's a beautiful setup to use on smoke every once in a while. Same thing for Mute if you wanted to consider his MP5K. Another EE1D out here for the Lion for Nerix, but it's basically for no reason. They have zero information. He's just popping that to see if maybe Sapper can do something, but look at Sapper right now. He's just inside of electrical staring at a barricade.
Well, it's a barricade that's going to make a noise, and it's a noise that's going to attract FURIA. At this point, not really able to do all too much. I mean, everything's barricaded here. We've got the top of blue barricaded as well, and we've got Lender just sat staring at that. So it does seem like a little bit of a stalemate, but FURIA are showing great patience here. They've got a significant advantage, but they're not looking to press it. It could be a little bit of a sneak through that dirt tunnel, but Lender is already primed and looking the correct way. No potential for a trade here. Nerix lets out yet another EE1D. It will be his last, and this could very well be a freebie. Sapper, he has the info, and he's actually been able to catch Lender out there. 40 seconds, there is technically enough time here.
He stared at the bottom of that staircase for so very long, but sometimes Siege just breaks down that way. It's the timing that allows Elevate to now find some space and work this area. Looking for a possible soft spot inside of the wall where a Mute Jammer wouldn't be, but since they don't have any grenades or anything else, they won't be able to clear this. It's going to be the funnel from Elevate. There's a smoke out for the window, or rather the door here into kitchen, but more smokes out, the toxic kind, into small office. They've now transitioned all the way over into the elevator area, but Sapper tries to transition straight in through that office and gets gunned down by Miracle. Nerix trying to work the beepers here, but it's Highs to take him out, and FURIA are looking dastardly.
FURIA looking very good there in that round, very composed. They didn't go chasing those final couple of kills. Shorelender got himself caught out, but as you say, it was Siege timing in a nutshell. You look at that staircase at the bottom for 30 plus seconds, and somebody's going to peek it at 35, because that is just the way that things go. Whichever way you looked, he would have been wrong. Maybe he was looking for a drone, because obviously it was barricaded at the top, so you never really know, but it was a round that FURIA were able to get away with. Elevate, they've just shown a lot of unnecessary aggression. I think it's been fairly uncalculated. Couple of runouts that we criticised when they were on the defence. The opposite of a jump out, the Amaru in on the attack. It's just things that aren't really viable and do just give yourselves away. Not really too much of a surprise to see Elevate use a timeout here, as FURIA are only 2 rounds away from locking up this first map and sending us into our second. They need to do a little bit of soul searching here because they've got a ways to go.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to talk about when it comes into just consideration how they match up against FURIA in the moment, because they're not going to be able to abuse their gun power as much as they could previously. FURIA is a team that shoots back, man. I mean, mostly it's fantasy, but as you and I were talking about previously before we got onto the desk, Miracle's been having a hell of a LAN, and I mean, the team entirely showing up in full force for this one. The big thing right now for Elevate is that, you know, don't sweat it too much considering what their bank stats are. They have a 33% win rate round to round, so I mean, it is what it is at this point. They're more than likely going to try and get as many rounds as they can on this, but they're more or less looking to the future.
They are, and it's the classic, you know, win your map and win the decider in terms of a best of 3. That's how you're going to be able to get through it, and you can't let yourself get beat up too hard when you start dropping rounds on the map that you haven't picked. You mentioned Miracle. You can mention any of them at the moment because they're all very much of a muchness. A spread of 8-5. That isn't a real big deal there when you look top through bottom. Rare sitting top of the pops as he is on the support, and what a good support he has been in this map. Elevate, you have had your time to talk. You have had your time to figure things out. You've gone searching, and you have come back with an answer. And the answer is the Nook. Second time we're going to be seeing it here and now. Not only have we got the Lion, but Dokubi's joined the party as well.
Hey, that could be quite interesting. You know what we could see? Oh my God, X. Look at this lineup, actually. Nook, Lion, and Dokubi all inside of the same pool. We're in for a treat here. Now, which way it goes, that's really up in the air, but we're definitely going to see an electric Elevate at least here for round 8. Now, all things considered, the big scare for me right now is it's almost like FURIA have just Amazon delivered as many body bags as they possibly can, because I completely agree with you. This team's firing on all cylinders, and I don't know how you shut them down in the current moment without Elevate able to take these gunfights. I mean, just look at Nay in the current moment, 1-7-2, and he's had some prime opportunities to be able to catch some frags. The only chance that he had to actually get a kill was that exchange inside of ATM.
And he is one of the culprits for flying in and out of windows a little bit too frequently, so you've got to question the play at that point. If you're not on the server for very long, you're not going to have that much of an impact. You need to be seeing these rounds out right up until the bitter end to have the best chance of picking up a couple of kills and having a reasonable impact. Let's see where the Nook gets deployed. It's more than likely going to be in through the big garage, but we will await and see just exactly what's going to happen here.
Oh, he's got the Banshee.
Conscious of that. I mean, the thing is, you're trying to do to FURIA what they did to you. Like, they're going to be aware of that, surely. And the Banshee is going to be an audio cue. It's something to think about. Eric's already timid, slow, not really taking that initiative.
Yeah, they got the bulletproof here as well, so even if he did nade that out and they just heard an explosion off somewhere, because obviously it's quite deep into the garage, they're still going to have info as to what's gone on in this space, and they'll clearly know that Elevate are trying for a very similar play to their own. We really want to see an audible called here. There's still plenty of utility at their disposal to make this happen, but Heis is going to answer this call. We should see the activation of the Nook here, but does he get there in time? Nerix doesn't move an inch, still waiting on the opposite side of the police car as they begin to stall out.
I mean, that was the time to move if there was any. Now we see the activation come, and he's going to try and make his way up. There's a little bit of a presence in on this top floor as well. It was coupled with the logic bomb, but we are going to see the Banshee get removed now. But Heis can just jump back into this bulletproof, and there's no real need to peek this. We've already seen the patience that FURIA is able to show here. A bit of a swing, and it's going to be straight into Lender, bolstering Heis there inside of that garage, recognizing that's where the push was coming from, and doubling down to pick the kill.
Terrifying stuff here from FURIA as they are simply the obstacle in the way of Elevate right now, but DCH apparently has something for that, and it's the sauce out of the V308. He'll give it to Miracle, who's had a stellar game thus far and a stellar LAN overall as he's been showing it for FURIA time and time again. Onigiri trying to collapse on top from the hatch, but it's a Nitro Cell through to claim his life from Rare.
It's the DMR really punishing Onigiri there as he saw the C4 coming through, and it just passes through the bullets as the slow fire rate doesn't do him any favors whatsoever. Fantasy in behind the server stack. He's got his eyes there on the bottom of blue stairs, and he's going to go for a fairly aggressive swing here. There's 35 seconds left. There's an argument to say you didn't need to do that. That could have given them a little bit of an in here.
Oh, it's very damning now, especially with Miracle off the board, no Nitro Cell in Rare's pockets. They have to shoot them, X. That's the only way to stop this in the current moment. They have to step up to the plate and swing hard for this. DCH on the Overwatch, deep drone here for Nay, and this is where the rubber hits the road. This is going to be a lot of fun going here to the last 10 seconds. Sapper has to apply himself to the situation. Nay drops in, but the stun grenade will catch him. The plant starts, Rare gets one, as they're all going to step up here. DCH looking, but Furia, they get it past the smoke, which actually hinders the offense more than it does the defense.
Sometimes the smoke is your worst enemy, and sometimes it is your best friend. In that circumstance, it's Elevate's worst enemy because it gave the cover. Rare was then able to just punch through the smoke and hit them on the side. And when you see Elevate left desperately pre-firing through that smoke, you think if the smoke wasn't there, you would have probably got the kill. Heart-wrenching stuff. It's going to put Furia onto a map point here. What feels like very early on in the series, but we've been through the ringer already. These rounds have been electric. They've been very, very back and forth. It's now a question, where do Elevate turn? Another round and yet another change. We're actually seeing the Osa be brought here again. Say less.
6
Maybe
pick.
we're going to see the 6 on that one. There isn't a lot of time to lock that one through, and it's going to be an Osa for an Osa. So, still using the 6 pick, but you're likely going to know what you are to expect here. Now, Lender's actually brought the Warden.
Yeah, and with what we just saw the last round, that could be even more trouble for Elevate, because more than likely they're going to try and trust a smoke or something along those lines, or Lenda might be just playing inside of the elevator hallway over here by stocks. We see this deployable shield placed here quite a lot, so more than likely going to have this inside of this area here. They'll probably apply it later on, but we could have a good staring contest coming in with Onigiri and these Osa shields as well, so could be pretty interesting. But honestly, I like Onigiri's choice here, because we could see him actually apply these to the CEO windows, which could lead to some pretty interesting interactions inside of the actual site.
There would be worse places to put them than on those windows, because it's going to give you a little bit more to peek off as an attacker. And of course, it deters the defenders just a little bit. There's a lot more to think about when you worry about the fact of a bulletproof shield being there on the window as well. Throw that in with somebody on upside down repel, and things start to get really difficult then to try and make anything work through. So we'll see where they are choosing to place them. Onigiri has got himself on the repel now, and you would imagine that's where they're going to be. But looks as though they're just waiting for that main lobby to be called as clear before they push on through. They don't want to give anything away too softly.
Well, looks like it's exactly going to be the case that we thought it was. And Nerix on the upside down repel, just as you predicted, trying to work this as well as they can. But the big thing right now is, well, actually, no, Fantasy's burned his impact, so it's going to have to be the Nitro cells to try and get rid of these. And look at Onigiri constantly faking the Osa shield on the window time and time again, seeing if he can possibly get anybody to burn some utility here. This is a really smart play around these Osa shields.
It's a nice way to burst the window in one go as well. It saves a little bit of utility, and it gives you that little bit of information. It's like playing Blitz with a shield out or a Monty with a shield out, but on the repel. It's gathered them information. It's not giving them a kill, but it's just giving Furia something to think about here. Fantasy on the Yokai. He's going to be able to ping out a couple of people inside of main lobby as Rare gets himself into a bit of a skirmish. Might think about dropping himself down the hatch, and if he did, he'd come to blows very quickly with Nay. 2 grenades in hands. They could very well get sailed on through the hatch, but the opening kill is going to come on to the Osa that we have talked about so much.
Oh, a little bit of damage to both sides, and now Fantasy, oh, beautiful kills coming out of him in that MP5 SD as he puts Elevate 6 feet deep. There's only 2 kills remaining for Furia to collect as they're looking to take their map choice in bank. Frag grenade out, Nitro cell down, but that'll get blown sky high from that frag grenade. Minute and 10 seconds left for Elevate to get something done here. I love the Osa choice, probably the most practical sense that we've seen her applied through this entire tournament, but it just doesn't do anything for Elevate.
It really is a shame because it's an ingenious use of the operator, but it really just didn't come to all too much. Skirmishes continue to happen here, and with Fantasy down but not out, there is still the potential to close things out here as a flawless round, and a flawless round it will be. Highs from the hatch, makes the rotation, and is able to find the kneecaps there. Collecting that final kill. Furia, what a performance on bank. 7 rounds to 2.
Incredible stuff from them, especially able to play around Elevate's very unique play style. That's something that really throws a lot of people off because people get stuck in their ways in Rainbow Six, man. You get really used to playing against a certain kind of opponent, and when someone plays such a free-flowing style, it can really put a hamper on you. But Furia, they're from LATAM. They're used to a lot of different things happening at once, and they will take it to Elevate on bank.
A great performance there from FURIA, and time now for Elevate to think about a bit of a bounce back. This is a full best of threes. There is, of course, another map to play guaranteed, and another map potentially if we do need it. I believe we're going to be heading into Chalet for our second map here, and again, it's a map that we know LATAM teams, Kafe is, excuse me, and I know it's a map that LATAM teams have actually early adopted. I was going to say Chalet is good for LATAM teams because they're good at it, but Kafe is a map that LATAM teams have certainly early adopted on. So we'll have to see what Elevate have got available for us there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Kafe also our most played map at this LAN so far. Everyone's back to the basics now. Kafe used to be a favorite. Everyone was like, no, we hate the map now, rework it. They rework it, bring it back, and now SI 2022 is apparently the time for the Russian map to make a resurgence. Personally, I love it. Always been a big fan of Kafe and its boxy kind of play style with all the utility. Always good fun to see teams really have to get into the nitty-gritty of Siege and really apply that to the map. But, ladies and gents, that's going to be enough for me and X right now. We're going to send you to a little break, and we'll be back with Kafe in just a moment.
Hello everybody and welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us. We are getting stuck into map number 2 here in our best of 3 series with FURIA versus Elevate. FURIA, they've already taken map number 1. It was Bank and it was a 7-2 closeout by all accounts. Elevate left themselves in pretty dire situations at times and we are looking for a significant improvement here on Kafe.
Well, you're going to have to be praying for a lot because the big thing coming into this one, folks, is that it's going to be Kafe. And as we all know about Kafe, it's all about the utility game here. The one thing that Elevate struggled with a lot inside of that where FURIA were so stellar was the utility game. We saw FURIA even getting around Electro Claws without a torch, just nading them from underneath. Perfectly timed to be able to open up a lot of the map and abuse it up against Elevate. I'm hoping for a lot here, mostly because this is their map pick, so they got to be confident in a certain sense.
Well, that's it. You can't be picking the map if you're not going to be confident on it. We knew that Bank wasn't a great map for Elevate. I think it was a little bit of we've just got to let something through. Maybe that's the one that we let slide. Maybe the lesser of two evils. But coming into Kafe, they have to sharpen their spear because it isn't going to be easy, especially with the way that we saw the coordination, or should I say lack of coordination, often at times. We've got a bit of a summary here for how map 1 went down. And for any eagle-eyed viewers amongst yourselves, you will be thinking and looking and seeing, well, you know, you usually talk about fantasy quite a lot. Forget fantasy inside of that one. He had a great game. You can't argue with it. But look at the spread of kills there. Everybody on FURIA going toe-to-toe and really lining up nicely next to each other. But the standout is the support.
Every single player on FURIA having 8 or 9 kills, everyone positive, and also 389% cost X. What else could you want out of your team? If you see that score, you're like, hey man, you know, I have literally 0 complaints as to how this went down. As for Elevate though, highest cost 67%, lowest happens to be Napew, unfortunately enough, at 11%. So we need to see a huge momentum shift for Elevate to get anything done here on Kafe.
They really have to try and get their act together, otherwise this could be quite a short series indeed. I remember back onto the pre-game with Jackie and Dev and Anne, they were saying, you know, there's a temptation and there's a thought here that this could maybe go to all 3. Elevate are going to have to play really well here on Kafe if this has got any chance of going to all 3. I know that Dev is a little bit of an APAC shill and he's very fond of Elevate, but realistically, dealing with what we've just seen and what we've got coming up ahead, we're going to have to see some serious improvements here. On the other hand, FURIA, the ball is in their court and it is theirs now to drop or misplay because this should by all accounts, be quite a quick one.
Yeah, well, I guess the good news for Elevate is that, technically speaking, you have nothing to lose in this. You just had a terrible Bank. You're walking into Kafe. Don't sweat it. Just focus on the map at hand and try and propel yourselves forward instead of worrying about everything that just happened there. That wasn't your map in the first place, and they more than likely knew that early on. During the TAC timeout, you and I actually talked about it. It's more than likely looking towards the future than it is going, hey, we're totally going to run it back on Bank.
And that's it. I think that they've got to be, you know, coming in with a clear mind. They've had a little bit of time in between that little short break just to recompose themselves before getting sent on through. It's going to be high fives all round, even a bit of a handshake there. It's very formal on the side of FURIA. Maybe that's just how those guys roll, but we are going to be getting ready to send ourselves on in. Welcome to Kafe, everybody. Map number 2 here.
Beautiful entry there, X. Really appreciate that. Everybody, welcome to the snowy Russian land that we all love to witness. Is you have to break down the Rubik's Cube to be able to get inside of this building. Thatch, you're going to be removed. We want no easy siege here. You're going to have to burn everything, FURIA, in order to get into sight. What's going to be the next hindrance? It's going to be the Jackal again. And I'm loving this ban.
It really frees you up. It's a target ban. Let's be honest. It's an operator that Elevate are willing to play, and it's an operator that they're happy to bring. And FURIA are just saying, we're pretty happy with everybody else that's available here. We don't want to remove a hard breach. We don't want to remove any flank watch or flank protection. Instead, we are just going to hit you where it hurts, and we're going to take away your ability to clear us out on the roam quickly.
Oh, man. And FURIA knows exactly what they're doing inside of this ban phase. Not only Jackal, but Goyo also being removed. They're removing some key factors to this defense and making it very difficult for Elevate to build themselves up in the same way. Goyo is a mainstay for anybody on a Kafe defense.
It really is. It can add a lot of intricacy to how you want to try and deal with those shields. And of course, if the shields are placed well, they become a little bit of a weapon for the defenders to use as well. You can burst the gas canister on the back and let out a load of flames. Elevate going to be starting off here on the defense. So we've got FURIA starting things off on the attack. Reading Room and Fireplace is going to be our first choice as we get a little cute 6 pick. The old Hibana for the Maverick. I mean, give Rare some nades, honestly. With the way that he's been playing, give him more fragging power.
Absolutely, especially with just how potent Maverick is overall. I mean, if I had to play a hard breacher, it would be Maverick. Not only do you have the torch, you got grenades in that beautiful M4 with the 1.5. That's everybody's favorite scope in the game at the current moment. If a 1.5 is available to a gun, 90% of the time somebody is running it. I think like the only one that I've seen at this LAN that hasn't been is Shepard has the ACOG or the Type 89, but that's it. That's literally it. Everyone else is rocking these 1.5s because of how good that scope happens to be for Siege. Having that little tiny dot right in the center, just perfect for hitting those little headies.
That's the thing, it's just clean, isn't it? You've got great sight picture, nice and clean, and at the end of the day, Siege is a shooter. You know, for all that it's intricate and for all that there's a utility exchange that goes on and there's all these complicated things that happen in terms of utility, you've got to get kills, and that was really demonstrated in the previous map. Here we are looking for Elevate to come up with some kills. We don't want to see the same mindless aggression that they showed early on in Bank. Again, Kafe is a map where there's a lot of potential for jump outs. There's a lot of potential for throwing yourselves out of windows on East or getting yourself onto that bakery balcony. Try and tone that back a little bit. Let's just think about things for a moment or two. FURIA, they know that, and already I can hear the little buzz that is an air jab every now and then as players make their way past, and they're just looking for that bit more security.
Gary already starting to take a little bit of damage in Fantasy to strike first. As you said, this guy is a menace, and he's looking for more. He'll find it as well. Onigiri getting caught off guard. Elevate, you're going to have to fight back. Put your hands up. You're getting punched in the face. FURIA are already towards the site. X, it's 2 minutes. What is happening? This LATAM energy is just something to just... What do? You can't even scoff at it. They have control up top, but the rest of Elevate, they've just sat on their hands.
There's no point having vertical control if you've lost your sight that quickly on, because you know that there are attackers going in to remove those players upstairs. And at the moment, Fantasy is just a fancy flank watch. You can look through that fireplace and just see if there's anybody else left to find, whilst the rest of his team shove all the players on the side of Elevate further and further toward that east side, whether it be down the hatch, whether it be down the white stairs, exactly where DHC is playing right now. Nate is going to be coming up on the flank, and there's going to be nobody watching this flank drone. Fantasy finds himself that kill as well, as that guy has got a sixth sense. However, he will be traded out. Damage at this point has been done.
Well, Nate will at least be able to get the flank, but Nerix is going to fall immediately. Tries to take the challenge out towards Doc. Can he land any shots? No, he can't. Not the Dark player to get him. It'll be Highs instead that drops down into Laundry. But a quick moving round here for FURIA, and they're just simply not going to let Elevate breathe at all. I really like this choice in aggression, especially from just having Fantasy push himself into Train, catching Elevate completely off guard.
Can be a very self-sufficient player as well, and you'll often find yourself watching him on his own drone or something like that too. So he's got himself into a good position. He's been assisted there on the roam game. Sure, he's fallen off and he's been taken out there by Nate, but that was the only kill that we saw Elevate get in the entire round. It doesn't really matter at that point. You can afford to trade 3 for 1. That's exactly what this game is all about. It is about those numbers. Elevate, they have been burnt downstairs in the fireplace, and they're going to go upstairs into the bar and cocktail lounge just to see if there's any respite to be had.
Oh, Onigiri really not able to decide what he wanted to go with that 6th pick. We saw a couple of different options there, but finally he rests on Legion. Now, the big problem with this upstairs defense now is no access to Goyo. We're so used to seeing an insane amount of deployable shields on this top floor to make a lot of these spaces much easier to play, especially inside of Pixel, but they're only going to have access to Nerix's shield. They do have Ney, though, on the Mira, so we could see like Bathroom as well as Freezer be occupied with those, and that looks like what we're going to be getting.
The mirror windows are going to be susceptible to that vertical play, the nades, and of course you've got to give a nod to the Capitao. It's an operator that we saw FURIA bring on Bank, and they bring it for a very specific purpose. It's to flush players out, get those fire arrows in, get the smoke arrows out, give yourself a little bit of cover, move defenders around, and with no Wamai, they are going to sail through.
Be so very easy, as we did see Wamai inside of that operator pool they were looking into for the 6th pick, and honestly, by the end of this round, they might have wanted it. We'll have to see if they'll regret that, as Rare's already on the roof. Now, there's a lot of different scary things that can happen here. The good news for Elevate is that there is no buck for FURIA here, so we're more than likely not going to see a cocktail offense. They should be walking into what Elevate wants, which will be the standard take of Christmas.
Hanging out on the roof, waiting for the hatches to be open. The hammer swings, the hatch pops, and we see air jabs immediately deployed on down. You really don't want to be getting flanked. And you know that Elevate are a team that are willing to do so. There is DHC, who is off-site at the moment. He's currently on the bottom of White Stairs, but he's got a lot of room to move downstairs, and he can choose to do whatever he wishes. But the push starts to come into that shop area as Lender lets a breach fly. Fancy on the rappel is going to give a little bit of intel, but it's going to be Onigiri as the first to fall. Highs finds himself a freebie. Why are you peeking that?
I was about to ask the same thing. Onigiri, do not be putting your face in these things so early, man. You can't lose this positioning. Now Elevate have to have a resurgence into here. It's going to be the smoke of Nerix, as he'll be holding things down inside of this space. With the plants already going down from Miracle on Trash, the micro smokes come in, and that smoke's going to be too late. Miracle to simply stick it. He doesn't care about his life. He's going to go down and die, but Fury's already dealt so much damage. DCH is done. It's all down to Sapper now.
Sapper, long way to go, finds one, makes the SMG-11 hit. He likely knows where the plant's gone down at this point, but the nades are coming in and his position is going to be known. He's obviously just had a gunfight, so that isn't going to be working too well for him. Draws for the shotgun, lack of information. There's nobody playing White Stairs. We know that, but he doesn't. 20 seconds left to go. He's got a heck of a lot to do here, especially with the positioning that FURIA have taken up. 2 of them on the roof. That skylight is a gaping hole that you do not want to be going anywhere near. Zappa, a couple of cursory shots there are going to fly, and he's going to try and play for a kill here. Grabs the down, but look, 3 seconds. Highs, flies on through, finishes the round for FURIA. That is a very quick plant.
I mean, there isn't even a jab to set up the overhead here with this swing. I'm telling you, there is no lead-off punch. They are just haymakering them constantly. And for Elevate, they're not able to find any picks at all. We see that early engagement with Onigiri on the Whitehall window. That doesn't go their way, and immediately FURIA hops too. They know that no one's going to be occupying that space inside of the freezer area anymore, to where they can obviously try and get something done inside of that space. So they immediately hop to it, the micro smokes, and get that plant down on the trash wall. That was a hell of a call from FURIA. You guys have no idea how difficult those situations are to get to go off in that fashion.
Well, it's the trust, isn't it? On paper, it looks really straightforward. It looks really easy. It's like, oh, they've just seen that it's clear and they've gone in and planted. There is so much more that has gone on than that. There are so many small conversations, small words exchanged there to be making sure that everything happens at the same time. Everybody is pulling in the same direction. Miracle choosing to stick the plant and kind of pulling the short straw. I mean, I don't really think there were any short straws to pull there, because FURIA were just in such a good position. The mirror windows, you think about the mirror windows that were played, you're like, they've got to have a bit more impact than that. You need a bit more information than that. You maybe play them a little bit differently, maybe look to switch that out into something else. It's just a distinct lack again on the side of Elevate, and once again, they've gone searching here for answers. Finally, well, not finally, but I guess maybe they think it's finally, because they did try and 6-pick onto the Wamai and had second thoughts. They've been able to pull it out, but there's no intention to play the Capitao here. FURIA, they have got many a card up their sleeve.
Yeah, and this round actually might be even more damaging than the previous one with the Monty in play. How does Elevate deal with this? They're not going to have any trap operators for him to have to worry about that. So everything that Lenda does is just going to be acting around Nerix's utility. They don't even have any nitro cells to be able to toss over the top of him. So Monty is going to get so much traction inside of this round. I'm very, very scared for what can possibly happen. But Nay, he's going to shut me up, the naysayer myself, as he'll take down Fantasy, who was 4-3 already, or 4-2 rather, now 4-3. But now FURIA not going to be slowing things up just yet. The Monty will drop in, and obviously Sapper very well aware that the Shielder is in this space.
If there's one thing that FURIA don't need more of, it's space. And if there's one thing that Monty can get you, it is space. Look at it, already Sapper's been pushed off. He's like, oh, I don't want to deal with that, can't deal with the Monty. I'm not equipped for that. I'm only a mere castle, and I brought the bulletproof. What can I really do against this? So that's the shop cleared. Bit of information needs to be removed now, as we're going to see the nade come in. It isn't actually effective. Of course, that can be bashed, but you do leave yourself a little bit susceptible. A little bit of teamwork, I'm sure, will make it happen, but Monty is going to eat a couple of zaps there and just have to dip himself back for the time being. Second nade now, going to be cooked and thrown through, and that one will hit.
I love that Nay still tried to look away like he was being shot at right there. But frag grenade instead, and those explosives, obviously the exact thing you need for those evil eyes to be removed from play. FURIA rather, still have quite a bit of time here as the barricade will be bursted open, but Heise has a lot to do, although I believe it's unbeknownst to him in the current moment. DCH being pushed onto, but now Lenda gets taken out from Onigiri on a cross angle. It's actually a FURIA that's lacking information in this department right now, and finally Elevate come to light. It's all down to Miracle right now as he rappels down to Heaven Window.
Well, this is a lot of work to do. He's going to find Nay through the same angle that Nay started this entire round off on, and then get himself onto the roof. He's 1 versus 4 with 50 seconds to go. But this is going to be quite the task. What a lack of information there from FURIA. And, you know, you bring in the Monty, you're expecting information. That's what we call him. We call Monty the human drone. There's still drones left in pockets here for FURIA. They've got 6 out there, so there's an expectation that they're going to actually try and use them. I think they'd really badly droned inside of Piano. Now we're going to see one come out, but 30 seconds, what is Miracle going to be able to do? It could be a very desperate drop, and if it comes through the skylight, well, it's going to be messy.
FURIA have got to remember that Elevate are still to be respected. They are no slouch when it comes to gunfights, and if you do not have proper info coming into these fights, they're going to punish you for it. Did a very, very good job of defending Christmas here. Love what they were able to do around the Monty and pull his aggro towards one side of the room so they could obviously challenge him from the rear, exactly how you should deal with a Montang. Miracle not going to be able to land any shots, but luckily enough for him, the stat pad will work out. He'll stay alive on New Balcony because, well, there's really nothing for him to do in the first place.
It looks better than staying on roof as well.
Yes.
Let's be honest,
Absolutely.
It looks a lot better than just sitting on roof.
Guys, I tried. I promise.
Miracle's
really
had a great tournament. Let's not blemish that one with a needless death there. The round was always going to go to Elevate, and it gets them off the mark here. They have now picked one up, and they are only 1 round behind the pace. Down we go into the kitchen. And this is, there's no fancy footwork looking to come out here from FURIA. It is very basic stuff. And that's where they need to maybe go back to, bring the Hibana, get that 6 pick over on from the Maverick, get that ability to open up the wall a little bit better. And to be fair, Elevate have done very much the same.
Yeah, I really love this Nomad pick that we continue to see from FURIA as well. That's going to be actively limiting Elevate in the way that they like to play the game, which is that aggressive front. They want to get into your face. They want to possibly try and get in on the rear end, possibly get a flank or something along those lines to really deal that damning blow if they can find it. But obviously FURIA thinking ahead on this one, so we should be continuing to see Miracle with this operator selection. Past that, Fantasy will be back onto the Finca. We're having a routine lineup for a site like this. Now the big thing for FURIA is getting control of that second floor, X. They want to get Heise in there and start to sledge up this flooring inside of mining as well as train and see if there's really anything to be done downstairs inside of this space. This is always very damaging if they get control of this. And on top of that, they also have Zofia, so they can even make the extended holes to look in towards bunker.
You can get some really nice angles on that top floor, and like you say, bring in the Nomad. It gives you that ability to just take a little bit more of that control as well. And we can see the way that Elevate are postured at the moment. There's a lot of them downstairs inside of the kitchen. That kitchen's going to become a very tiny place to be if nobody gets themselves out there on the roam. So we'll have to see what their intention is here from Elevate, and if they do try and flex on into that second floor ever so slightly. But for the meantime, it's going to be a top floor take, as FURIA aren't going to take any chances. Coming in from the top, dropping down the hatches, ensuring that everything's clear.
Did you see that? They have all 3 of their Kona stations on bunker. All 3 of them are lined up back there. And I believe you can activate them all at the same time as well, so I think it should just triple stack you for HP if you take a lot of damage. So that's a pretty interesting setup there. I honestly think I like that. We'll see. We'll see if I like it later on. Maybe I'll look back and be like, man, Stokes, that was a really dumb thing to say. But we'll have to see. Either way, though, I really like what FURIA has done with their early game here. Heise just jumping in. Folks, that's not a mistake. They had early drone info careful around these stairwells. It's what you always want on maps inside of Rainbow Six, because stairwell's the only way that the defense gets upstairs. You get a drone around that space, you already know what people are doing early on, so they know that no one's inside of this area. FURIA is going to take that. The sledge has already started his work, and we're only halfway through this round. The pacing is fantastic right now for the offense.
You've got to look at the positioning as well of players like Fantasy now. He's getting himself onto the window, and he's now able to start picking up any players that start to rotate. The site's getting opened up. It's a smaller and smaller place to be, and you don't want to be underneath those sledge holes as they're being made. But there are players on the side of FURIA ready to catch. Miracle and Lender both thinking about coming in from the bottom of white. Onigiri has already taken a ton of damage. DHC just manages to dodge himself out of the way of a nade. The hatch is open up into Dyna, and that can be a bit of a vulnerability, but kills now do start to fly. Does anybody know where DHC is? The answer is yes, but can you get the kill? Well, that's a no. He's able to shut down Lender, but the trade comes in instantly.
Insanely unfortunate in the moment as TCH will go down inside of VIP. Elevate have been able to equalize here going into the last 45 seconds. FURIA not able to abuse the VIP space like they thought they originally would, especially with that frag grenade not landing from the Boo's window. We really need to see that go deeper into VIP to do anything damaging. And now, with people dropping into the actual freezer space, the M590 will work well for Sapper. He'll take down one, he'll take down two. It's actually a triple kill for him on the round as he is sending FURIA back to the drawing board. It's up to highs now with 15 seconds. Still clutchable inside of the 1 versus 3, but I highly doubt Elevate gives him any rope unless it's to deal damage to himself, and that's exactly what's going to happen. He steps up to the plate. He's not only getting lit up by the lasers from the Evil Eye, but he's also going to get taken down by Sapper for the quad.
Thoughts on the corner stations now that we've seen them in action? I quite like it. I'm going to preempt this by saying you're peeking out with the shotgun, you dip back, you get corner stationed up, then you move through, you've got a bit of health if you take the damage. It worked really well.
It's beautiful, honestly. I really, really like it, especially that they had the ADSs there to be able to prevent any nades from coming in onto that as well, because that just makes it to where he's basically protecting gold in the corner, right? He's got so much utility value there. Is like, okay, guys, you can't destroy this.
He's a dragon.
Yeah, exactly.
He's a dragon at that point.
He's just sitting on his gold pile there, and it pays off. Elevate, that was all intended for Sapper to get something done, and that he did.
Brilliant round from Elevate. They've leveled things back to 2 rounds apiece. Now they've got to go to a site that they have struggled in. This was where we kicked things off in round number 1, and it's where we saw Fantasy just essentially stroll in and pick up 3 kills. It didn't look like too much work for him. I don't think he even broke a sweat, and it was the start of a very damning round for Elevate. Can they make the change? Can they make the adaptation here? Let's see how the setup goes. Still rocking those corner stations. The Wamai is a constant pick now as well after that initial threat of a Capitao. So Elevate are adapted to what FURIA are bringing here, and they're thinking, you know, we need to be working on our feet here. We need to be solving problems as we go.
I am just in love with this nursing station setup right now. I just feel like they're walking into the Pokemon Center every single time. It's like, all right, heal me up, Nurse Joy. Like, it's so perfect for this situation here for Elevate and the way that they like to play the game. So, now the good news is for all of our LATAM fans at home is that FURIA already has 2 rounds on the offensive side of Kafe. So, technically speaking, they've hit their mark. Anything past this is just, hey, guys, we've basically won the map if you really want to go at it in a stats way. But this is why we play the game, X. Anything could possibly happen. It is Rainbow Six Siege.
Siege isn't played on paper, that much is certain.
I mean, Dev would love that. He's such a good stat.
I think there's a few people that would love that, to be fair. I think there's a few people that would. In the cells of a spreadsheet, maybe. But that isn't how it goes. It's got to be played with boots on the server, and that's exactly what we've got here. FURIA not going for the same approach. Fantasy this time is going to be clearing out that top floor, but he's just as deadly, Stokes. He takes down DHC as he gets caught out just on that rotation out of Pixel. He heard the audio cue. He knew the windows were getting popped. But let's be honest, if Fantasy didn't grab him, Highs probably would have done. That coordination from FURIA being in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, speaking of the wrong place at the wrong time, DCH, you really got to be focused on what's going on in the round. It's just one of those things, game sense-wise, you start to understand the more and more you play Siege. There's certain parts of the map that you're not allowed to exist in at certain time frames, and it just so happens to be Christmas at around 2:15. People are definitely on your rappel, even if you didn't hear them. Let me tell you, they're there, and they're willing to shoot you in the face if you give them the opportunity. That's what we're going to see go down early on here. FURIA is starting to extend themselves across the entirety of this building. Rappel-wise, got a few bodies in here. Fantasy's progressed himself forward with the rest of the squads. They're looking to take Cocktail.
There is still going to be a player upstairs inside a cocktail. Saper lets the C4 fly. Fancy just dips himself back ever so slightly. Nay could have a nice swing here, but he's likely only ever time. One gets the kill over onto Fancy as Saper picks one up onto Rare, leveling. Right, look at the damage that Nay is causing here from that position. More live pings available. Shots are now coming in. Lender, you've got to move a bit quicker than that. He's going to let him get away, Stokes.
And now what miracle? He's going to catch two downstairs. I don't know if he knows that he has one to the right. Sapper still SMG-11 in hand and all of the hot pings. But oh no, Sapper, you have to make the play. Don't back out now. You have to challenge this man. And it's going to be a triple for the ARX-wielding Nomad in the dying moments here. And FURIA get away with a round that they really shouldn't have had.
You got to make the play or the play will make you. There was live information on that player inside of the laundry. It was a great start. FURIA came out of it, nice pace. It wasn't the rush into sight that we were expecting. They caused a ton of damage from the cocktail lounge, but it wasn't enough. Miracle saw that opportunity, and that's what you're going to see. Opportunistic plays, calculated aggression, and it just furthers the point that we've been drilling home this whole series long. Miracle is having a heater.
Yeah, this land seems to be his, which is, like, for me, truly hilarious. I'll tell you a little bit about it here in the prep phase since we're here. Actually, funny enough, like 5 days before I got on my plane, I played a consulate game against him. He was just solo queued and ranked. Bottom of the leaderboard. They won. I got absolutely smoked by the other people that he was playing with. They were just hopping out of every window. Of course, I had to pick up the Nomad to make sure that would stop happening. I got my frags, but I still lost the game, you know? Yeah, but that's the thing, you know? The ELO is what we're really caring about. My frags, they don't matter that much. So, Miracle, I mean, when we get home, if you could give that back to me, that would be great.
Maybe see if you can queue up together.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the answer.
Exactly. Maybe he can carry me. Like,
as he plays the Nomad, so you sorted there. It frees you up, you know?
Exactly. Then I can go back to my old Ashmain ways. It'll be perfect.
Well, exactly. I mean, someone's got to do it, haven't they? It's a hard job, but someone's got to do it.
It's a terrible job. I hate doing that, X. I would absolutely hate to play that operator, let me tell you. But either way, I mean, Miracle has been just so electric this entire land, and yet again, he proves to us why we keep having to respect this man's name. Pulling FURIA ahead again here on the offensive side. I mean, they're just looking stellar in the moment, and I don't think they're going to be slowing down anytime soon. This is going to be the last round of their offensive half, and they could split this 4-2.
It really could. We're going to see a little bit of a change come through as well. We commented on it at the time that Highs wasn't playing the book. He was in fact playing the sledge previously, and now we've got the book brought out. Now, the push didn't work previously when we saw the Monty push onto this top floor. We did see a successful quick plant, but that's not something that they're looking to repeat. FURIA are looking to keep things moving, keep things different. So with the book, we may see a little bit more pressure coming in toward this reading side, and Nade's being cooked. It's going to be thrown, and it does not land. Nade actually finds the kill onto Fancy from that heaven balcony. It's a kill that will be traded, as Highs does take down DCH, but damage done.
Very well done there from Nay, as he was just sitting in a very sneaky spot inside of Heaven, one that a lot of people are used to when you get in towards Cigar and things like that, but not so much when you're trying to contest from down low inside of Pillars. It's just not really something that you're really cognizant of in the moment. You're waiting for somebody to maybe rotate in or make a play around the bar space. You could possibly catch them off guard, but obviously not the case. FURIA in the moment trying to look for more of a cocktail-centric offense as they're clearing out this basement area with the Skeleton Key, as well as some of these breaching rounds out of Lenda.
Nice Claymore there to go down, just to cover any risk of a run out. It's great opening at the floor, but you need somebody else there to try and catch these kills. And losing Fancy, well, it's losing the guy that you would expect to maybe play on a window. Nice little finger boost. Bit of an audio cue going down here on White Stairs. We see a couple of fire arrows get sent in. Rare just seeing if there's anybody there to be caught. And well, Nerox is going to get dealt a ton of damage, but the finishing blow hasn't landed. The smokes are still going to be there in play as Sapper deals with a drone on those White Stairs. This has been well telegraphed at this point, Stokes. Everybody on the side of Elevate knows that this is where the push is coming from. FURIA now, do they commit to it?
Oh, looks like the Alda, it's gonna get it done. He just lets the chopper sing the whole time, just runs it through the bars and finds him inside of reading. Elevate is not gonna go silently into the night. One drops down the hatch, has to play for White Stairs. Miracle's already taken so much damage. Lenda gets one, but oh no, Lenda's gonna get away with too much here. Sapper shuts him down, but then Rare, the shoe's on the other foot. Onigiri inside a White Hall. Can he get Miracle up inside of this situation? I believe he'll have the opportunity, but also the Evil Nikolai upstairs inside a bar reading him out. Onigiri's giving up his positioning. Rare on very low HP. Now Onigiri trying to fight back, but he's only got the revolver. He's being chased, and Rare off the top rope with the para will take him down.
What a play from Rare. What an intense 1v1. The information was in Elevate's hands. They had all the cards there. They had red pings to go off, everything. And Rare still makes it happen. You've got to give a shout out to Lender for this play because the speed at which he was able to move, and I guess to a degree, the slowness of Saber coming up those white stairs, he could have just finished that. He could have nipped it in the bud straight away, but he let him get away with too much. Sure, the kill comes through there as a trade, but it's too little too late once again, and now we see a little bit of a familiar sight on the scoreboard. Another 4-2 split. This time, we're not on the attacker side of Bank. We're on Kafe. Kafe's difficult.
It is very difficult, my friend, and the big thing that we talked about inside of the prep for this is that Elevate have not been the best in their utility usage. The good news is that it looks like they've brought the proper lineup for this. This is what I was really worried about when we had the consideration on Bank, because they just really weren't bringing the utility necessary to clear the map in a convincing way. This time around, they have everything at their disposal. The big master plan up inside of this has got to be the Flores of Ney. We need to see him land these Rotero drones on the important points of FURIA's defensive setup.
That's going to be the really key thing here, especially when you think toward deployable shields, you think toward bulletproofs, anyone that's holding Pixel. We've got Malusi Banshees cracking around, and there's no mute. So you've got to be a little bit more proactive against these Rotero drones in order to shut them down at source. They are vulnerable until they are stationary, but when they are stationary, you know about it in a couple of seconds because they are going to blow, and it can be very difficult, especially if you're trying to sneak out of the way of it, if there is a bit of a crossfire on the go. So something to consider, something to think about, and let's see how Nate chooses to use them. FURIA, they've opted to go upstairs to the top floor, bringing the Cade for a little bit of electrification there, looking to keep control of Washroom and Freezer pretty fiercely. But they've also got themselves a little bit of a presence elsewhere. Lender,
please, your smoke.
I hate it when smokes are looking at windows like that, when it's already a little bit broken and you know that all he needs to do is press W and space and he's going to be flying out.
Oh, that's the Siege player in both of us. We're like, please, God, no, not your utility, not you. But it seems like they have a couple of different options along the lines here to be able to deal with this. I do like Lenda's positioning overall, though rocking the stairwells with the M590 is one of the best things you can possibly do because it's practically a free gunfight if anybody actually wants to try and swing into you. So we'll have to see how that ends up breaking down over towards this side of the map. But as for Elevate, they're not being allowed to breathe early on. You guys saw the spawn kill come out downstairs in the dark area or hell, whatever you want to call it, whatever you call it back at home. Nay's going to take a little bit of heat, but that's really going to be all she wrote for that situation. Past that, Elevate's transcended to the roof. Narek's coming up brown right now. Everything's pretty good looking so far for Elevate.
Neris could get himself into a good spot. The problem is he's got Fantasy above him there on the stairs, and I'm not sure if anybody really knows. A little bit of presence coming down of that new hatch will quickly see Fantasy scurry away or maybe even dealt with. So the timing of that is going to be quite crucial. The more patience that Elevate show here, he could be rewarded with it. Onigiri just going to hop into the drone. There's a chance that he's just setting himself up a little bit of a flank watch here. No one actively there to look onto it, and Eric's just thinking twice.
No.
Fantasy gets away with the kill there onto Nate. Honestly, I swear that they were going to just hold for him and they knew that he was there, but apparently not. That's going to give away a lot of your information and a lot of that hard-hitting power of the Rotero drones.
Yeah, truthfully, this is terrible. Elevate, look at the time right now. They haven't used any utility X. They still have 6 frag grenades. What is happening right now? They have to clear this out. The only thing that they've done has gotten rid of the laser gate here for white. The smoke's now starting to come out, but there's ADSs here as well. They'll get rid of that with a frag grenade, but that just didn't hit its mark, really. But either way, Elevate have to try and propel themselves forward, and now the laser gate's going to get reset. They don't really have any utility to be able to deal with this either. Elevate's starting to spring too, but Miracle's there to cut off the drop, and FURIA, they are getting away with so much on this defensive side as Elevate just simply aren't using their utility.
Well, time to hop into the clone and time to burn the Surya Gate, as you really haven't got many other options. 8 seconds left. You're going to have to push something. Lender's going to be the one doing the pushing. Onigiri is going to fall, and Nade won't cut it. DHC, I'm afraid you are going to be able to find one, but ultimately the time is going to do the rest. 6-man stepping in there for the defense. FURIA, They weren't pushed all too hard at all. We were enthused when we saw that lineup. We thought that that lineup had all of the answers. And on paper, it does. It's got the Rotero drones. You've got the frag grenades. You've got the burn that you need. You got to throw it. You got to use it.
I mean, it's like asking your girlfriend what she wants for food, man. They just didn't know. You know what I mean? They're like, I can eat this. Maybe I can eat that. You know, it is what it is. But this is why this tactical timeout's going to be called. You guys have to be decisive in your choices. They had every piece of utility that you could have possibly have wanted to deal with any of those situations there. And the only good utility usage we see is Yana burning 2 laser gates with the Gemini. Past that, literally nothing.
Yeah. And it's a shame because the nades are there, the utility's there. They did lose the Flores first. Give them that as credit. You know, if you've got plans for the nades, if you're going to try and use them to root players out, fine. You need time to do so. And I understand that if you lose your Flores, then the shields are going to become a little bit more of a problem. But there's got to be a serious conversation going on here for Elevate. They need to have a little bit of a chat and just try and see if they can steady the ship, because this one's very quickly going the same way as Bank. It's almost a carbon copy in terms of rounds and the way that the rounds have come about and when they have happened. A timeout, of course, that extends to FURIA. Just time for them to steady the nerves and, you know, more of the same, please. Just keep doing what we're doing well, because at the moment we're not being pinched or pushed all too hard.
A hard game to watch for our APAC brethren, but you got to be extremely happy for LATAM at the same time, because FURIA are looking damn good inside of this one. Elevate is no slouch either, folks. They are quite good at taking their fights, but the big thing right now is that FURIA continuously staves them off in a bunch of different ways. That round, it just so happened to be the utility. Yeah, I completely agree about the Rotero drones, but the big thing is that FURIA is not even manning the shields inside of this situation. They're just simply leaving it there as more of a ghost shell setup, and Elevate are just like, okay, well, do we want to try and take Christmas? Do we want to try and go for the mid-floor? They had a lot of different ideas spiraling around their noggins all at the same time, and they just couldn't decide on one.
You're setting up a pixel hold and playing somebody in bathroom, and the bathroom's fully reinforced and it's got a Cade on it. You look at it and you go, you almost scratch your head. You're like, well, what do we do here? Because we can burn the pixel spot, but then we've still got to get around somebody in the bathroom with a shotgun and an ADS. All very difficult stuff. Let's see if Elevate have been able to conjure an answer there in that short little timeout. They're going to be looking toward a different site, with FURIA being successful on that top floor. Of course, things have to change. And we go down into Fireplace. Not reading them, Fireplace and Mining. So a little bit of something different, something that we don't always see. But I think at this point, FURIA are willing to go anywhere.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people as well starting to try and play both of the sites more on the mid floor. We're both super used to reading. Miracle looking for so much here. He's got the SMG-11 at range as well, and he actually ends up tagging up Nay. They trade almost perfectly in damage. Miracle taking just a little bit more, but that's really only because Nay actually has a rifle in comparison to a machine pistol from the window. So very interesting decision there from FURIA, but Miracle's not going to be too mad about it, mostly because they have the Kona stations around. He'll just run back upstairs, get healed back up, and, well, he dealt some damage to Nay. So got to be happy about that, as Elevate is going to be sweating in the moment yet again.
It's a running theme, isn't it, for the defenders here? They're bringing those Kona stations regularly, and they're obviously making it good use of them. And why not? If the attackers are going to be bringing a Finker, let's have a little bit of health for yourselves as defenders. Lender got a C4 primed and ready. It's going to sail on out of the window. Doesn't hit its mark. It's actually the only C4 that's been brought in. Oh, save again. Sorry, Miracle has one as well. So still opportunity to try and deter that top floor push, but it's happening very slowly. There is no surefire commitment at the moment. We've got Nerix looking to see if he can grab himself a cheap one from that bakery balcony. But there's still players from FURIA that are dug in on that top floor, and you know that they've got the ability to rotate.
We have got to see Elevate hop 2 here. It's a minute 30 remaining. We still have 8 grenades in the pockets of these players. Guys, let's get to clearing some things. Let's get to applying some pressure to FURIA, especially in this top space area. X, there's not a single ADS on the floor here. I don't know if I'm blind, deaf, or mute here, but I mean, they need to hear me. I'll run over to the bench if I have to. Elevate have got to do something with this area. Get some good information on the drone. He'll begin chasing Fantasy around, but he'll just drop off here. He's more than willing to give this up, as it's a minute and 10 seconds.
You can give top floor up because you've got Banshees placed on the stairways, and ultimately they're going to come into quite a lot of use. Onigiri was there for the catch though, and he is going to grab first blood here onto Fantasy. It's a good advantage, and it's an advantage that Elevate need to try and run with here, as not a lot else has gone into their favor. We talk about the amount of nades left. This is where things could get dangerous if the nades are thrown. Lender is going to grab one back and remove a set of nades off Onigiri.
Well, now Linda coming back up white stairs. Rare in position inside of reading. And Nay, he needs to get more work done with this sledgehammer. Another angle found as Rare gets chased down inside of pillars, but the shots don't land properly. He's allowed to exist as he'll run back into a Kona station inside of Fireplace Hall and elevate once again. A stick in the mud here. A frag grenade down Brown, but clearly nobody inside of that space. They're trying to look for so much, but so is Linda, and that's the case down outside. Elevate stuck inside of the building. There's not a single person anywhere that can get to this X. They can't get outside. This is a FURIA round through and through. DCH blows himself up, and Heis guns down the rest of the team. What is happening right now to Elevate?
Elevate, when we ask you to use your utility, when we ask you to throw the nades, we want you to let go of them. We need you to throw them. Don't keep a hold. That's only going to end one way. FURIA put themselves onto a match and series point here against Elevate. Boy, oh boy, this is one heck of a game. Elevate coming up against significant obstacle at every single turn. There is not a lot going right for them at the moment, bless them. It's siege timing through and through. It's unfortunate circumstance that you do see from time to time. You see the odd nade that's going to drop at your own feet, or you end up running into it, or you have to move, or something happens. But all in one game, it's just a little bit too much to handle, isn't it? Elevate, they're going to be doing some soul searching now. They need 4 clean rounds on the bounce to even think about taking this one to an overtime. And FURIA are just running through the motions.
So much pressure on Elevate right now. I am not envious of the anxiety in this moment for them at all, especially after that last round. I mean, that's just a dagger to the heart from Lenda. They really thought that they had an opportunity there, and the last thing that you're worried about while manning that window that he has to swing into for dining is somebody running down white stairs at 20 seconds to shoot you in the back. Incredible decision-making from FURIA inside of this one. They've only given up 4 total rounds inside of 2 maps. This is truly insane. And honestly, you have to be happy for these FURIA members. I mean, usually when we look at this team inside of their own region, it's the fantasy show. Today, it has been the FURIA show, and personally, I'm loving it.
It really is. You know, Fancy sat there on 8 kills, sure, but there's contribution elsewhere. Miracle, he's going for it again. He's keen for a little spawn peek, isn't he? He's desperate. I don't think he's going to rest until he gets one. And even going with the Echo this time. Maybe that's why he made the change. Onigiri is going to actually shut Fantasy down. Imagine from that little jump out there. Fantasy obviously trying to double down there with Miracle. We're going to see another kill come through. That LMG, it has the gunning power. This is the Elevate that we wanted to see. Punish that aggression that FURIA is showing you now as the finish line is so close for them. And they're jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah, the 150, practically some loaded dice when it comes down to it. You can just spray down walls and just pray to God that it hits somebody. And it will this time. The R6 Siege Gods are more Tachanka than anything, gracing him in this moment and giving them a kill that they desperately needed. But here's the thing, they still got to close this out, and FURIA is no slouch. So many people that are still alive are willing to take it to Elevate. I mean, look at Miracle in the moment. He's not slowing down. None of this team is worried about what is going to go on in the next couple of minutes. Elevate have to take abuse of this and try and propel themselves into the site.
This is where we need to see them take the advantage. They're doing a good job now of gathering the information. They need to understand the lay of the land. What are the obstacles that they're going to have to go against here? We're going to see the Electroclaw there removed. Could be potential for Saper to get himself in and try and do something there. DCH just going to hop into the drone and see if there's anything that he can add to this, what must be at this point a wealth of knowledge, because we've seen 3 players on drone for at least 30 or so seconds. So you better believe that there's something set up here. And Onigiri is certainly putting that LMG to the test, seeing if he can just snag himself anything with those lucky wall bangs or the potential. And Eric's got himself in a great spot at the top of white. The drone's going to work ahead and call the site as clear, but he gets a couple of shots in there onto a player inside of Reading. And this might be the in that Elevate need.
Oh, beautiful shots onto Linda, and Nerek's more than obvious knows that somebody's inside of Reading, but Miracle, he's just better in this situation. He'll shut him down. 45 seconds remaining now, and Miracle has so much to do, and with DCH at the bottom of white, it'll only take him to be able to remove Miracle from the equation. It's all left up to Heis, but this is looking doable. In the moment, he'll be able to pick up Nay. Won't be able to prevent the plant, though, and all of a sudden, this skews towards the offensive side.
The hole's not being kind to him there. The plant hasn't gone down in a default location, so he's not going to be able to affect on it vertically. And with it being confirmed, it's take your pick on where you want to watch. Do you want to watch a staircase? Do you want to watch a hatch? There's a bit of a ping there available, and the hatch was, of course, the play. Elevate, when they needed it the most, have been able to pull around here. You've done it once, do it 3 more times.
Yeah, I think the big thing here, though, is I highly doubt FURIA ends up coming at them in the same way inside of the opening minute. I mean, that's some ranked Kafe I've ever seen it. Yeah. Let's try and, swing the double for the dock spawn, and then I'm just going to hop out a red window and see if I can kill somebody. And I'm not going to worry about anybody being on blacktop either. A little questionable, FURIA, but, you guys have done so much inside of this series. You've only allowed 5 rounds between 2 maps. I'll give you some slack.
Exactly. I think they're just giving Elevate a little bit of the taste of their own medicine from way back on Bank at the start when we saw Elevate flying out of windows. It's been that sort of game through and through. It's been bubbling under the surface all the time, just itching to pop itself out. And slowly FURIA have cracked over the pressure. Miracle, we've seen it spawn peaking a couple of times, SMG11 in hand. They're having a little bit of fun with this. They know that they've got a significant advantage. However, there's still a game to get over the line here. And Elevate have tasted success recently. Can they double down on it? Downstairs to the kitchen is where we are going to go.
Now, this is where things could get dicey. The good news for Elevate is that there isn't an overabundance of utility that's going to be preventing them from planning. The big thing is that there's an abundance of utility that's going to slow them down in getting there, especially with Linda on these Banshees. FURIA is going to extend over into VIP. And X, I don't know about you and what you have been casting recently, but for us over in North America, this was a thing for quite some time. It went away for a little while. We come to SI, it's back. The good news is that there hasn't been a change up, just people all of a sudden wanted to start playing VIP again.
It's preference, isn't it? You see teams have different preferences. Do you want to try and defend the freezer in VIP, or are you going to look to play aggressively inside a bakery? It's very difficult to know which is the right move, and I don't think that either's right or wrong necessarily. You're going to need a little bit of vertical with both. There's a bit more pressure on throwables if you're going to try and defend into the bakery side, and if you leave the breach open, you're of course a little bit susceptible. With the Jaeger being brought, there's opportunity to maybe replace that utility if one push is coming in from one side or another. But fortunately for FURIA, Elevate have been moving fairly slowly. So I don't think that there's going to be any significant pressure early on that they're going to have to worry too much about.
A cheeky angle here from Onigiri. Trying to look deeper in towards the bakery area. Soft wall on the left-hand side here will make things just a little difficult for either squad trying to fight around that space. If Elevate doesn't keep an eye on it, somebody can definitely step up and remove one of the Elevate members inside of that area. They're going to begin working upstairs. They need to get him inside of this crane and mining space and start working on this flooring as soon as possible. Onigiri still going to be working the outside area here. Long distance with the 2.0 scope. It's going to be difficult for shots to be landed from inside because you have to slide it right through that truck window, and those metal bars actually hold up bullets as well. So either way, going to be pretty hard shots trying to be landed. Fantasy, he's going to take some damage. Make it more now as a lot of heat coming in onto him. He'll be forced back, and no Kona stations this time to res him.
I mean, that's why you need the nurse station, right? You need to take that little bit of damage and then go back to the safety. It's a strat Elevate used, and they used it well. No such fortune for Fantasy here. The floor is going to continue to get ripped on open, and the site is equally being vacated almost as quickly as the floor is being ripped. Electric Claw likely going to get dealt with here, or maybe just in for the barb. No, Claw is going to go as well, as we are able to see that start to progress and develop a little bit. And Eric's just looking to push himself, or given the option to push himself down Brown if he so wishes. But you've got to think about the info here for Elevate. Do they know where these players have rotated on out to? Because you've forced everyone out the site, and you've essentially said, get out and get there on the roam. There was no one there to catch. So now there are a lot of people that are unknown.
Oh, big pickup there from Onigiri. He just sees him underneath the knocked over wardrobe, and Neo get one of his own from the verticality upstairs. FURIA all of a sudden bleeding here, and this is doable here for Elevate. Rare, though, inside of small bake, and has a read on Onigiri, who's not looking over to the left-hand side. He'll get taken down by Rare, who doubles back over. Sapper now stuck inside of Freezer. Nades abound, but it's DCH to strike. Linda fights back. Sapper gets one as well, and he'll start the plant, but not before DCH also gets the kill. Elevate, they're able to solve the equation in the last dying moments of this round, even though it looked like FURIA had a serious opportunity.
Elevate showing that they can perform under pressure there, really getting the job done as the cookie crumbled. Top floor control, so crucial. Criticized it at the time. I said there's no one there for the catch. There are all these FURIA players that are leaving sight, and there's no one on the side of Elevate to pick up that rotation. Turns out it doesn't really matter when you've got players like Onigiri, who over the last couple of rounds has really started to hit his shots. Little bit of an entry in through Bakery. It got traded, but that pressure was matched and then some with the push through Freezer. That double pinch really put in a lot of pressure on. Tactical timeout time for FURIA. They need to try and stop this bleeding. They have gone from this being a very favorable 6-2 to now being a 6-4, and there is a danger that this one does start to run away.
Well, the big thing here is, honestly, I feel like the site selection a little poor in that situation. Just given the circumstances of how you have to play out Kitchen, you're not really going to be going for that extended roam upstairs. I mean, we've seen it happen before. We all know the famous BDS roam on Kafe, where you leave the dining hatch open or fireplace hall hatch open, you drop back into Freezer, but no one's really willing to do that anymore just because it's so easy to cut off. And you give a lot of space up to Elevate that they're able to abuse. And even if you are the greatest team in the world, it's still really difficult to fight through vertical angles. Always has been, always will be. So more than likely going to be shifting things up for what they want to do for their site selection, and more than likely going to try and apply themselves to this defense in a different way. We're going to see probably the most preferable site, I would argue, in the likes of Reading Room and Fireplace Hall.
This is where FURIA needs to try and get it over the line. Twister having a good chat with the team there and just seeing if there's any words of wisdom, any things that he can maybe see that have been going wrong over the course of the past few rounds. Stokes, you've got your hand over your mouth. You're going to need to remove it to talk. What is going on?
They 6-picked away from Sledge. They've picked up Twitch on a site where Sledge is so unbelievably important. And I mean, I gotta say it, X, you guys just abused Sledge so very well on Kitchen. It looks like they assumed that it was going to be a bar cocktail offense that they were going to be playing. But no, it's not going to be. It's going to be into the second floor here. And without Sledge, the only soft destruction that they're going to have is going to be on Onigiri.
And the Twitch is a weird one to 6 onto anyway. You could understand a change.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong, you can understand a change. However, you're moving from a Sledge, you've got the hammer and you've got the nades. You're dropping the nades, fair play, but what are you getting in return? Well, you're getting the shock drone. Is it really worth? Is it really valuable? I don't feel like it is in the context of this Kafe and the way that the teams have been battling it out. It's maybe not necessarily worth it.
Yeah, I definitely have to agree with you on that one, especially with Rare on mute as well. You're going to have to be worried about Nae's positioning with these these shock drones in general. FURIA now extended out towards the mining side, at least for Rare's case. Also, obviously, holding on to the top floor for the time being, as this is going to be of the utmost importance to hold away from Elevate and try and gather this last round that FURIA so desperately wants.
I really enjoy how Elevate are paying a lot of care to the windows and looking for jump outs and stuff like that, and you just get the feeling that in that team talk, Twister was going, don't run out, don't aggress, no spawn peaks this time, drag it back, you know, let's play this properly and let's get this one over the line before it runs away. But it's causing a time loss on Elevate, which is a time loss that they can seldom afford to take. Maybe a chance at getting the yokai. Excuse me, please. Ooh, a little bit of fancy footwork, but it wasn't quite enough. -1 yokai drone. Maybe that's why they brought the Twitch.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I like that we all of a sudden got an episode of BattleBots there. That was a pretty good time. Nae also with some fancy footwork here with the Twitch drone, and he'll get it done, just breaking ankles left and right. He still has both of them still alive, so I guess he shut us up for the time being. But the big news is that there's actually a dwindle on this timer right now. We've been watching this Twitch drone so much, we're already halfway through the round.
Second yokai has gone now as well with that drone, so there really is no significant denial left in terms of those yokai drones. We've got the Toxic Babe canisters, we've got a C4 to go at. All is not lost, but spending that time and then not having a Sledge to recover it very quickly, because you can open up the floor very quickly with the Sledge, it's going to come to hurt you. So you might have the top floor, but you've got to now try and do something with it. FURIA on the flip side, they're going to be lacking intel going into this final minute.
Now, the big thing is that FURIA is also going to know this if they're worth their stock, because Twitch wasn't inside of the lineup. As soon as that Twitch drone starts shocking things, you're like, oh, Sledge isn't here. This is really weird. Okay, so obviously Elevate going to be in some trouble, but now for Nay, he's gotten so much done against the Echo drones, and he's going to be the first one to strike as well onto Fantasy. They're looking for reading as of right now. Nay needs to clear out the laser gate to start going for this, though. FURIA still has some people in some key moments. Need to get rid of the mute jammer up top to be able to pop that as well, but this timer continues to tick down. Elevate now fighting the clock. Miracle attempts to tag some people upstairs, but it's not going to be worth all that much. We are going to have a drop into Janitor here. Nerox will be able to get one. Nay will clear this finally, and Elevate, they've got it across the board, but now Lenda, he's made the move up the stairwell. Sapper's starting to plant, but do they have the angles down here? High's able to try and find one, but DCH, he'll find him instead. They don't have the angles even set up. Lenda's starting to take some heat, and it's a frag grenade from DCH to continue to keep Elevate alive here on Kafe.
What a great nade there coming in. We've criticized the nade so much, and then we see the best nade thrown. It landed at the feet of FURIA, and well, it was enough to get the job done. Sledge, who needs him? Just take a Twitch drone, bro.
I guess so, especially when you got fancy footwork like that. I mean, that was truly incredible to be able to get both of those Echo drones. But the big thing is that, guys, that is so hard to execute. You have no idea what that man had to go through in that round to be able to pull that off. And Nate, on top of that, also getting kills with the F2, all in the same breath. He's going to go back to Sledge for this one, but I mean, tip of the cap to him. That was literally insane. Either way, if they end up losing it right here, I'm still going to be like, yeah, Elevate really gave it their all, at least in these last couple of moments here on Kafe.
It's a party trick, and it's a party trick you've got to be able to pull out. You know, everybody's got one. If it's bringing Twitch every now and then and causing an absolute madness, then just so be it. FURIA, you got to think, their backs up against the wall. They're on the ropes. They've taken a lot of punches. How many more can they take? This is Elevate coming back from a 2-6 deficit. They have picked up round after round. We challenged them at the time. Said, you done it once, do it 3 more times. This will now be the 3rd. If they level this thing up into an overtime, who knows what happens?
Honestly, I really want to see it. I think that it deserves it. I think that we deserve overtime here, not only for these two teams, but for the fans at home. This is built up to this moment. It's been boiling. I believe it's about to boil over here if Elevate can actually get this round. We could see FURIA completely gobsmacked going into this overtime, and we could get the full best of 3, just like Dev and the desk was talking about.
Maybe, just maybe, Clubhouse is going to be the map, I believe, that awaits us if we do get that far.
Oh, that would be so crazy.
You imagine?
Oh, man. Dude, I'm frothing at the mouth for that. I mean, come on. Elevate, though, they're going to get up to the roof and begin the regular beginnings to Kafe, which is droning out this top floor. Every team has to have a clear for this space, and Elevate will begin theirs now.
FURIA have been suffering on that opening pick the last couple of rounds as well. The success for Elevate has been coming off the back of that opening engagement not going FURIA's way. And Fantasy, sometimes a player that is found out by that. He was 8-8 only a couple of rounds ago, and he's failed to have significant impact in the kill department, which he is arguably best known for. He's out there on the roam currently. How long is he going to be able to stay alive? Certainly the drone work for Elevate's gotten a lot better. The utility usage has got better. They've improved over the course of this series so far, and it's been brilliant to watch. Can they now get this one over the line? Again, it's a trademark slow clear. They've not been in a rush to do so, and I think they're taking that time. It's given them that little bit more confidence to say, we can execute late on. Opening kill, yet again.
Fantastic stuff. You know, my dad told me something a really long time ago, X. You really never know what kind of a man you are until you get punched in the face. And this is what's happening to Elevate in the moment. They've gotten punched in the face, and they immediately got back up and said, all right, if you want to swing, I guess I'm about it. And that's exactly what's going on here. Miracle starts to fight back. This is what you and I love to see out of both of these squads. Let's see it happen here, Elevate. Can you guys get it done? FURIA are not going to give it up that easily. You guys have got to fight for your control here as Nay will take down Miracle.
Another kill going in the favor of Elevate to further the advantage again. It's been a slow and steady backward and forward here between these two. Red just keeping an eye onto the bottom of that new hatch. Conscious that there's still an upstairs presence, so the nade's going to sail through there from Nay just on into the site. Probably in an attempt to remove a little bit of information. There will be pings happening around him as well to assist him in that endeavor. FURIA, I don't want to say they're playing scared, but they don't look to be playing for that rotate. They're just sitting and waiting and hoping that these angles are going to pay off. Look at what Rare's holding now at the bottom of red. He's either going to find himself 2 or none here.
Oh, Fantasy with a big pickup, and we're going into the 3 versus 3 with 30 seconds remaining. Nerix will be able to clean up Fantasy, and Sapper with one onto highs as well. It's all up to Rare. Seen so much from him thus far inside of this matchup, but as we're starting to see more of this, it's looking like the possible OT mark, and it will be as DCH has the counter angle all the way in through reading. And just like we said, it deserves it, and it must happen.
I said he's either going to pick up 2 or none. He would have needed to pick up 3 there. It turned out to be none. FURIA, can we say they're playing scared? That wasn't the confident FURIA that we saw over on Bank or in the first half of this game here on Kafe. Elevate, they have made the comeback. They've done the impossible. We have seen an attacker-sided Kafe. Just wrap your head around that for a moment. It's been 4-2 splits both sides, and now we see the switch up. It's time for a change. It's time for overtime, and FURIA get themselves the fortune at this point, in this context, of being on the attack. Are they going to wobble?
That was exactly what I was worrying about, is they've had so many rounds go to the wayside inside of the last handful that you get back to offense. Offense is quite complicated in comparison to defense, because defense, you set up the map your way and you go kind of do your own thing. You set your spot, you kind of play off what your teammates are doing. Offense, it's all about coordination. You have to be on the same page. Your info game has to be good. You have to be playing for those trades, because if the defense gets ahead of you on utility, you're basically screwed. There's a lot of different ways for things to break down on the offensive side in comparison to the defense. So we'll see if FURIA are quaking in their boots or if they are ready to go inside of this OT.
You can quickly find yourself in a fairly impossible position if you're attacking and you've run out of utility and you haven't got anything left. And we cast our minds back to FURIA at the start of this game. They showed great prowess in that ability to execute at the same time and the coordination as a team. And as the game has gone on, that's just slowly switched. The scale has shifted to where it's Elevate that have that level of coordination. And FURIA, after a battering, have got to bounce back here on the attack. It's been the favoured side throughout Kafe. They need to try and make something happen here whilst Elevate have heated on up. It's likely going to be a top floor clear. That's typically the way that FURIA have been approaching it. That is if they don't just send Fantasy on in. But where is the info? We see the drone get thrown, but no, he's just waiting to collect.
I mean, that was really it. He's going to rotate back down into coat check. They've gotten their pick, and now they can just chill out. I really don't know what FURIA's strategy was with that, but not only did they lose one of the mainstay fraggers, they lose probably the most important operator inside the lineup minus the hard breach. It's going to be FURIA. We've been talking about her so much this LAN and what she brings to the table, the likes of those adrenal surges as well as that LMG, and now they're going to be missing out on all of that beautiful utility. And for Elevate on this basement defense, they get to do what FURIA should have been doing the whole time. Just chill out. Wait for the offense to do something after you get this pick. We saw a lot of very active play early on from FURIA, especially when they got to that 6th round. Lots of active play in the beginning minute that ended up giving Elevate way too much room to breathe, and they just tried too little too late to shut it out. I really would have liked to see more respect in that manner, but it is what it is. It is what it is at this moment. They're definitely going to have to try and get it figured out now down Fantasy.
I'm kind of surprised to see them setting up for this freezer take again, given the wantingness of Elevate to play inside of this VIP and the fact that they just got mowed down in the freezer. We got the Kona station set up once again, the shotgun played close range by Saper. It's not going to be an easy take to make, especially when you're going for all this vertical. There could be a late round pivot here, but FURIA need to find themselves an in, and that could be it. Traded one back, taken out on Agiri. That's going to remove the Wamai. Okay, the utility's out there, but it's a gun gone nonetheless.
Well, Elevate more than likely still having their health station set up all the way at the back inside of Bunker, because we have been seeing this time and time again. And no, actually, they're going to switch it up on us. I don't exactly know where they've applied them this time around, but we'll have to see. Going to have Nate over inside of lobby. Nerix, he's going to have at least one of them over inside of this space. They've actually spread them out this time around. Elevate's going to lose another body, though, as, oh no, FURIA has already made the play. They're inside of Freezer. Linden knows one's inside of the VIP as well, but he needs to land his shots. Nerix tries to fight back, but he can't. Miracle with yet another, as it'll be down to Rare to get this plan off. DCH on the other side of the map, he'll have a hot ping as to where the case is going down, but he has no utility to be able to abuse the space in which he's in. He's trapped inside of Whiskey, and it seems like FURIA knows where he's coming from.
It's going to be a difficult one here for DCH. He's getting constantly flashed. I'm not sure how much intel FURIA have got here, but there's certainly intel available for Elevate. If he can break these down, he might have a chance, but he gets caught looking skyward. Some could say he gets caught looking sky high, but it will be highs to find that last kill. Nail that one in. FURIA on a match point yet again.
I absolutely love these two from FURIA. The constant just handshakes. There's no fist bumps or anything. It's like, gentlemen. Like, it's so great. I just love seeing it every single time. But FURIA, they're going to pull ahead yet again here. And yeah, it just seems as though we're getting offensive side Kafe. The first day of the LAN, this map was actually statistically offensive sided, which is hilarious. It's so funny I almost cussed right there. Like, that is something that you never see on Kafe, but we're gonna get it yet again. And now FURIA, they're gonna switch back over to defense. They're headed upstairs to bar, cocktail, elevate. You've got to do something. If you're gonna swing hard.
Well, they're bringing the nades, which is going to be tick number 1. They're bringing the lifeline, that's arguably tick number 2. They've got the Finker, it's always a good addition. Got Niada, great. Like, this is a stellar lineup. You can do a lot with these 5 operators. Can you break this defense? Because previously we have just seen such a timid approach. It's a similar setup coming out from FURIA. They're likely going to reinforce and cade off into Washroom and Freezer again, as that is their chosen strat, or at least it has been throughout the course of this game, with still a setup in onto Pixel.
Well, there's only 2 more boxes to check on this list, X, and it just so happens to be win this round and then win Kafe. That's what they need to get done. They cannot allow FURIA to get past this point. FURIA, with their setup upstairs, an extension out towards Pixel, the traditional way as well. ADS is in front of the deployable shield as Elevator let out the gates.
Going to be conscious of that spawn peak again, as it's been a threat that FURIA have posed throughout this map. It's not going to take too long to get themselves up onto the top, though. They know how important this round is for FURIA. Not only is this a map and series point, but if we do end up going on to a Clubhouse, that is going to limit the amount of points that either team could get from this series. A clean 2-0 is going to net you 3 points. Anything less, you're going to be looking at a 2-1 split.
Yes, indeed, my friend. Elevate, as of right now, trying to play this cool, calm, and collected, not being too forward with their hand just yet, taking their time, droning things out, and getting a great understanding of what lies ahead of them. They need to clear this out perfectly. They only have 1 chance to get this right. Nay will be the first Elevate member in the building as he drops into red. He's got a long road ahead of him over here inside of Christmas, as he does have the frag grenades along for the ride, as well as 2 other members of Elevate. Onigiri also having the impacts as well, so just like X was talking about, plenty of utility for Elevate to work the map here, but they still have to get it done. And since it's a very comparable setup to the last time, FURIA is just going to back off of that Pixel shield back into the bathroom and force them to clear things twice.
Well, it's the halfway point in the round, and we're finally seeing a little bit of burn come on through. The Toxic Babe canisters are going to go off. The shield does remain briefly, but will quickly be dealt with. That's now going to pile the pressure on, but as you mentioned, there's still a shotgun to be dealt with at close range, and that is not easy, especially when Naya spent both of their needs in order to clear the shield. You could really do with a bit of a rotation there from either the Iana or the Finker just to come and help deal with that. There's a chance at a bit of a crouch walk into bar, but again, it's risky stuff. Banshee on the door as well, not going to be easy to deal with, and it's just going to slow down anybody that's pushing through and give that audio cue. The shotgun's going to be favorable here as the Surya Gate gets reactivated. That's a lot of burn that hasn't gained very much.
They had to level up there. That was the big thing. They needed to continue to push into white until they were completely done with that space. And since Elevate have done this in a halfway manner, this looks like this round could be what FURIA have wanted on the defensive side the entire time. It's 5 versus 5 inside of the last 30 seconds as Nate propels himself forward. It's going to be all onto the picks here, but it's FURIA to strike first as they take down Nerix. Nate has made his way up into the bar, though, as he'll claim 2 lives. Lenda fires back onto Onigiri, and making a double for him as Rare gets Nay. It's all down to DCH. He'll clean up 1 down low, but with 10 seconds remaining, he has to try and push upstairs. It's a 1 versus 1, but Fantasy knows where he's coming from. Case down. DCH has to win the fight, and it's a pre-fire from Fantasy. FURIA shut it down. It's 2-0 for the LATAM squad.
What a last round there for that series. There is no better way that FURIA could have gotten away with that one. Coming down to a 1 versus 1, a Claymore of all things to move it from a 2v1 to a 1v1. And Fantasy, the player that, let's be honest, hadn't done anything for the last 3 or maybe 4 rounds, grabbed that all-important final kill. Ends up top of the pops on the scoreboard, but with 3 players hitting double digits on FURIA, it was by no means a solo effort. It was a team performance, and it was a team performance that's netted them a full 3 points.
Well, that was a very, very fun best of 3 to watch. Even though we only got 2 maps, it was still electric for every single one of those rounds. Always something interesting happening across the board. And as a FURIA enjoyer yourself, what do you have to say?
I'm pleased. I would have liked to cast all 3. I think I've enjoyed casting with you. It's been a pleasure to step in. I appreciate you letting me step in for it.
Of course, sir.
Thank you very much. But I would have liked to see all 3. I would have liked to see how it goes on Club, because Elevate, as we mentioned during the cast, they progressed through the series. They really got themselves into it. They grew into the maps as they came along. To come back from 2-6 down is no mean feat, and it almost feels a shame that they're not going to be rewarded for it.
Yeah, absolutely the case, my friend. And what a series that we got to cast here. Honestly, I really, really did enjoy casting it with you. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, as you said, FURIA going to take this one in 2-0 fashion. I'm excited to see what Elevate can do for the rest of the tournament, but I'm riding pretty high on FURIA right now after that series. I think there's still some bumps in the road that they might have to try and deal with, trying to get to the main stage, but we'll have to see how it breaks down.
Absolutely, it is not the finished product by any stretch of the imagination, but they are here and they are contending. Elevate, there's a lot of positives to take away from that one. I think there's things that they can go away and work on, and there's things that we now know them very capable of doing, and it might just be a bit of a confidence thing, because let's look at it. You know, they were a slow starter through Bank, but they really stepped things up on Kafe, and I think they might be that kind of team that comes alive in a best of 3 when they get to that 3rd map.
Absolutely, sir. And well, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for X and I. I really hope you enjoyed the cast because, well, we've never done this before, but either way, we're going to send you to a quick break, and we'll be back with the Command Center.